Hey, Myles.
Hey, Bryan.
Do you smell that? Do you smell? It smells like new plastic. It's new rubber. It's new headset smell. Oh my!
Really?
Yeah. It's new headset smell. Sony sent me a new headset because they fucking lost mine over the last 3 months when I sent it in for repair. It's here, and it's new, and it smells nothing like Bryan sweat, which is fucking amazing.
Is it actually brand new?
It's brand new, dude. Like, I mean, like it's not in like a new, it's not in a PlayStation VR2 box, but I mean, it smells brand new, and it definitely does not smell like me, which is new enough for me. I'll say that. Yeah.
So someone who's bought a new one is going to open the box and be like, "Oh, what is that?
That smells like Bryan Paul."
And it doesn't even work.
Right. Well, it half works. One of the lenses. Okay.
It half works, yeah.
All right. Just a heads up, everybody. Myles and I are both dragging today. So, make sure you leave some viewer takeover questions over in the viewer takeover channel on Discord. And we're going to that's going to be like the second 2/3 of the show. And so we just wanted to make sure we didn't miss a show again. I think we missed last Friday, right, Myles?
Yeah, we did.
That's my fault. This would have been my fault too, but yeah. All right.
We're here and we're going to have a good time.
We're here. We're tired. Get used to it. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go. This is PSVR Gamescast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and 2 Wise Friday right here on YouTube. We do it live right here on this channel without parole. PSVR2 without parole. It used to be called Without Parole Games, so sometimes that's still stuck in my head. What are you going to do? 6 p.m. Eastern, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you don't like watching this thing, we totally get it. You can either hang out and wait for timestamps to be put into the show later, or you can just do this while driving, if you don't mind sirens on your end. In your ears, up your nose, on podcast services of your choice. My name is Bryan Paul from this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole. And this gentleman over here, lovely gentleman, to my left, your right, it's Myles Dyer from youtube.com/Myles.
Hello, Bryan. Hello, Gamecats. Hope you are all doing well. It is so hot here in the UK at the moment.
Are you sure it's not just you?
Oh, I wish, Bryan. It has been 3 consecutive days, I think. I think they said it's the longest, hottest consecutive days in UK history. I could have completely made that up, but what do facts matter, right? I'm not a weatherman. I'm not here to give the weather report. I'm just telling you, it's been very hot this week. And it's been a real test of what's it like wearing the PSVR2 headset. And it gets toasty, Bryan. It gets very, very toasty, even when you're playing games that aren't that active. But then I do think back, and on PSVR, it was definitely toastier. Yeah,
it hasn't been that bad here. It was pretty bad. We definitely had a nice weather storm, a thunderstorm today, crazy downpour, which sucks because Tornado doesn't like thunder and lightning. She's used to a lot of things. She's not used to loud, meaningless noise and flashes from the night sky. So even though I was sick and in bed for most of the day, I did have to get up at one point and just track her down. And she was just, so sad, man. Like hiding in the bathroom, behind shower curtains, behind the toilet. And nothing makes me sadder than that. Although I'm sure we can test that theory out in all sorts of different ways.
Well, I'm happy for you to send the thunder and lightning our way, because it's the best feeling after having consecutive days of hot weather, is having a nice little thunderstorm and rain to clear out the air. Although the worst thing that happens in the UK, and obviously I say in the UK because some places you have heat and it's nice dry heat. Here in the UK, it's always humid, and sometimes you get it to rain and it's like, oh yes, great, it's going to clear out the air. And then the rain stops and then the sun comes back out again, and everything starts evaporating and it becomes a massive sauna, and it's even worse than before. And I love all the solidarity in the chat. Nick said, laughs in Texan. I know there's going to be a lot of people from the global audience watching this going, what are you guys on about? I mean, I'm not even going to tell you how hot it was here, because I know you Americans, you do it in Fahrenheit, we do it in Celsius, because, we do things differently. That's how we roll.
Brian's secret boyfriend in the chat with the $5 tip. It's so secretive, I'm even unaware of him. Says this week's multiplayer meetup will be Bang Bros watch party on the new PSVR2 app, 9 p.m. UK time, link in Discord. There's no way that means what I think it means. And if it does, then fucking let's go. Let's sign me up. I'm a very open-minded individual. Myles, what's been happening on your channel, man? Let's put the spotlight on you while I try to drink some coffee and wake the fuck up over here.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I mean, last weekend, in terms of the games that I played for Let's Plays, I'm actually having to have a think about it. I mean, in the week, I played TOS. I live streamed that. Actually, we got to play it obviously before launch, like even live stream it before launch.
Yeah, for us it's kind of old news. We've actually had our hands on this game for over a week now, right? And so, but you haven't been on since the embargo lifted. What's your impression about TOS? Are you having fun with it?
Yeah, I had a real good time with it. We've obviously spoken a lot in the Discord, and that's another reason why it's worth joining the Discord. Is we have all these extra discussions in the voice chat. It's always a good time. But yeah, I mean, it's a small game. It is what it looks like on the trailer. I think if you look at it on the trailers and you feel that jumping around and just grabbing onto stuff and climbing isn't your thing, you're not into those kind of arcadey things, this game isn't for you. But it's also about feeling. There are many ways of having climbing mechanics, and it's all about the diversity of power-ups. These are things that you spoke about in your review very well.
Thank you.
It's definitely a small game. I had a blast with it. I went on to platinum it, which I did in about 7, 8 hours of gameplay.
You had to have been the first, right? Like, I mean, like, because when I completed the game, actually, I'm sorry, when I completed the core game and didn't touch the bonus levels, I was the only one that had completed them at that time, including you. And I was the only one on the leaderboard, no one else. Number one, only because I had no opposition. And then I went in later, finished the bonus levels, checked back, and I was like I was still the only one on the leaderboards. You must have been the only one. You must have been the first one to get the platinum. And probably, I mean, you must have been looking at the leaderboards as you progressed. Was it just you and me at the end there?
Yeah. It was. Because you were telling me that you were getting all these notifications, because something I do like about TOS is they have this mechanic with the PS5 that many of you will remember probably from these two games at launch of the PS5. There was Astro's Playroom, where with the time trials, every time you set a new time, there was in the PlayStation operating system, there is this leaderboard. And if you set a time and then your friends beat your time, you'll get a little notification saying so-and-so's just beaten your time, and you press the PlayStation button and it'll take you straight into the game to that level so you can then compete. And when the PS5 first came out, that was a lot of fun. But Astro's Playroom, I think, only had 5 or 6 levels that you could do it for, so it was nice and manageable. It also had they had that feature with Sackboy's game. But with this, there's 75 levels, and it does it with all of them. Yeah.
Which I loved. I did, because it was nice. You and I are friends. I like little friendly competitions, and I didn't try super hard to get great scores on the leaderboards. But then when I saw 17 notifications that you had taken down 17 of my times, this was a moment where I was about to go to bed, and I said, well, I guess I'm not going to bed now. I got 17 times to reclaim. And so that's how I spent like the next 2 hours. And I got to say, like, honestly, if you take that into account with my review, like, I mean, if you're the kind of person that really wants to compete on leaderboards and you have friends that have times that you want to beat, like, I didn't care about being number one. I just cared about beating you. And honestly, like, if you're that kind of person that thrives on that kind of stuff, you can probably add another half point to my score. Because it is a lot of fun in that regard, for sure.
And I've always been surprised not more games use that functionality, because with Synapse, I always mentioned I just wish there were in-game leaderboards, and they did that competition of how quickly you could speedrun the basic campaign, and it had a lot of engagement. A lot of people tried it out, and it was good fun. And what I like about the functionality on the PS5 is, yes, you can compete globally, but some people get intimidated by that. Like, I'm not going to beat these times. But then you can filter it of just friends, you know, and just have a little battle with your friends. And that's kind of fun too. So, yeah, I did enjoy it. I do like the ghosts that you can sort of race against. I've had some Gamecats and people tweet me saying when they got the game, been beaten some of your time, so well done to you. But some of them have also said, your ghost has helped me improve in the game, because you can see what they do. I think you were mentioning to me before, there was like one level that you were like, how have I done it? And then you see the ghost and you see, I missed that wall or something like that. And
well, sometimes you think that the fastest way from point A to point B is a single fling, right? But just like traveling on a globe, I suppose. Fast. It's sometimes a curb line is the fastest way. I was shocked to see, like you and other people would grab two surfaces. Like, you throw yourself, grab onto this wall, and then hit the button. When I was like this, surely the fastest way is to just try to fling yourself across the entire level and hit the button. But you can actually get there faster by utilizing the different surfaces along the way, which was really enlightening, I think, and I think it made me a better tosser. As they say.
As they say here in the UK.
Yeah.
And then finally, I would just say that it's going to be interesting to see what they add to the game. The devs do have a roadmap, and if they add more content, actually they did say, I think in the comments section of your review, they were answering GameCat questions, and one of the things they mentioned was that they are planning on creating bonus levels, but there'll be bonus levels that get added on to the end, as in there's going to be new mechanics and increased difficulty, and I welcome that. It would be cool to see, and when that comes out, I will definitely be coming back to the game to play it. So
awesome. And what else have you streamed over on your channel? I know we kind of got off topic.
Oh yeah, I was just going to be looking that up. So the 3 that I did last week, and oh my goodness, I played Gorn. Yeah. So Gorn, I've never played before, and I genuinely was looking forward to playing it. To be fair, I think there's a lot of fun to be had in Gorn, but the sound was not working. And for those that want to experience it, just go and check out my Let's Play. And I've got a timestamp, because towards the end, I put on some of my electronic dance music as I'm battling, and it looks like they're all dancing to it, and the game instantly becomes hundreds of times better. But the way I can describe the sound was, it was like when, sometimes you've left the TV on and then you can sort of hear the sound coming out the TV while you got your headphones. You're like, have I got the sound coming out the TV? Is that why I can't hear it? No, it was just in game. It was just weird stuff going on there. So I had a good time with Gorn, but it's very buggy, and I can't believe, again, willing to be corrected if the devs want to correct me on this, if you do quick smooth turning, you can't turn the blinders off. It literally turns into Looney Tunes with a really small circle to look through, and I'm just like, why can't you turn that off? The other 2 games I played, Fisherman's Tale, the first one, because obviously that had just come out. I had a really good time with it. Fisherman's Tale, I still had problems with the lighthouse bit at the end. I realised it's not a glitch, it's just that the puzzle, in my opinion, doesn't go with the rules that they've set earlier on in the game with how the mechanics work. But I had a really good time with it. I wish the resolution was better.
Yeah. It's fine, right? But you just, I think the whole time you're playing it, you're just like, why isn't this sharper? Why isn't this blowing my mind with clarity and 120 native FPS, 4K resolution? There's no reason for this not to be that. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to call it a lazy port or call the developers lazy, but I certainly think it was just hey, let's just make this playable on PSVR2. And honestly, I've stopped complaining about so many of those things especially when it's free or a small upgrade fee, right? So.
Also, they've missed a trick, because on the main menu it says another Fisherman's Tale, and you're like, oh yeah, that's the new one that came out. Yeah. You click it, and it just says, yeah, another Fisherman's Tale is available. But normally you'd click it and it would take you to the store. There's no click to buy it on the store. I was like, that would have been an easy win for you guys. The only thing I'd say on Fisherman's Tale is the bit I love about that game, and it was cool having it in PSVR2 because it does look better. Don't get me wrong. Is without going into too many spoiler details, but there's a bit where you're on a fishing boat in a very stormy sea, and just the rain hitting, the waves crashing against the window. It's such a cool experience in VR. I think it's really amazing. And then the last game I played was Horizon Call of the Mountain. I did play it at launch with the PSVR2, but with my Let's Plays that I'm doing, I'm actually doing every game as their own Let's Plays. I actually was a few hours into the game, but then my save file got deleted with an update.
Oh, man.
And it was after doing the mission where you're climbing for the red flag at the top of the mountain. So straight away I was like, I'm not climbing this again. But I did on this Let's Play, and then got a bit further and fought a big boss. And it was a good time, and I'm looking forward to completing the game at last. It was interesting going back to it as well, now that we've seen so many games since launch, and I feel like I did when I first played it, which is, this is a beautiful game. I just want to know what is holding back the resolution. Like, where is the trade-off? Because people straight away go like, Red Matter 2 is a better looking game, but it's like, and by the way, Red Matter 2 is a beautifully looking game. It's got great resolution, but there's a lot less going on. Like, you look at the foliage, the bit where you're climbing up the side of the rocks and there's all the blue butterflies. Absolutely stunning. And so my question out there, as opposed to a complaint, is what is the trade-off? Where are the limitations? Is it that we just haven't got enough out of the hardware of the PS5, or, you know, what other things are going on there?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to know, you know, like what tricks Fire Spray and Gorilla could add to Call of the Mountain over the years, and see maybe like is it going to get patched like next year with some crazy new, you know, improved foveated rendering patch where we was suddenly like, oh yeah, everything we're seeing looks super crazy clear now, because it does look really good. I think most people's complaints aren't like, oh, what's happening right in front of you. Most people's complaints are like, oh, out in the distance everything looks, you know, it's the same thing as Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, where it's like everything around you seems really clear, but then once you get a certain distance away, it's like, oh yeah, everything could certainly look clearer out there. But I think when I'm in the midst of these games like these, that's kind of the last thing I'm paying attention to.
It was interesting listening to you and AJ's conversation on Monday about, you know, foveated rendering, and is this something that we want to see in more and more games?
Yeah.
And this might be a bit of a selfish thing as a content creator, but the only concern I have about foveated rendering, and you know what I'm going to say, is it looks great but when you want to showcase games, like when I was showing Red Matter 2, I was in this room where you've got all these like plants and that, hydroponics, and actually on the live stream everything looks blurry except where I'm looking, because obviously that's what foveated rendering is.
Right.
And actually I did explain that before playing, oh my goodness, what game was it? Before No Man's Sky, I explained it, and then it was good to explain it at the beginning of the live stream, because then people understood what was going on. But I do wonder, is there a solution where the social screen provides a flat like resolution image, maybe not as high resolution overall, but at least more consistent? Because I do think in certain games it can look a bit jarring, but again, it's not a priority for PSVR2. You know? Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, I'm like, it is a marketing tool, isn't it? Streaming games is important, and so if you have a social screen has a purpose. But I do think that a lot of devs, I don't know if like a social screen is sort of a nice to have. It's, oh, okay, we just need an output for the social screen. There are some that obviously make active decisions with it. Look at the game Knock, where you can have like 3-4 different choices of what the social screen is, so that they can have other camera angles and things like that.
Yeah. Shen Miyazo in the chat says, what happened to the rumored improvement to the reprojection firmware? Some developers said that Sony were working on a big update. Hopefully not fake news. Well, you heard it here, so not fake news. Well, you definitely heard it here, maybe not here first. It was something that we'd been hearing and couldn't talk about. It's true. It is true. You should be seeing better reprojection on PSVR2 at some point soon. But, you know, these things take time. I think that news broke only like, 2 months ago or something? It wasn't terribly long. PSVR2 will have a nice, long, healthy lifespan. And the further we get into it, the better things should look. Dead Ringer, the Gamecat with the $2 tip, says, would love to see Toss Level Creator. Happy Friday. Yeah, you know, normally I would say, level creator seems like a stretch, right? Because then it's like, well, now you've, given up your ability to sell DLC, you've given up your ability to like whatever. No, it makes sense in TOS because the TOS levels are so straightforward. They all go from straight from one end to another. They're just like, hey, here's another jungle gym we made for you. Here's another one we made for you. Here's another one. And the elements are so simplistic that for me, they said they spent 6 years developing TOS. Well, now let's sell that to as many people as possible, getting as many features into it as possible. Don't worry about, DLC or TOS 2 or whatever you want to, whatever your future shows. I agree. Level editor, level creator to share with your friends would be incredible.
I would love it. Create it. You get a code. It has its own leaderboards. It's just like, and it would give it longevity and it would get people to keep coming back. But it's one of those things of always saying, they should just do a level. I know we're not saying that, but it's kind of like that is a massive undertaking, especially for a small team. And they also actually did acknowledge this, saying that when creating the game, they had their big lofty goals of like in a dream situation, and they said they would love to have a level creator. But I think they did say that if they were to do it, it would have to be its own game, just because it would be a whole new undertaking. So.
Mitchell in the chat says, I was playing Zen Pinball on Vita the other day. I kept seeing your high scores pop up, Brian. Something I really loved was Zen Pinball. And that's why I was so enthusiastic about it coming to VR. And we got quite a few tables on PSVR1, Star Wars Pinball as well. It would be really nice to get that on PSVR2, especially with all the new haptics and adaptive triggers we've got. I think that'd be amazing. I don't remember being terribly good at Zen Pinball, but I mean, that was a long time ago, so maybe I spent more time on certain tables than I remember. Roy Schwartz in the chat with the important information says, fun fact, iCarly debuted today, 2007. Why aren't we celebrating? This should have been the thumbnail, Myles. This should be iCarly celebratory live stream. I would have been down with it. I don't know if anybody else would have been. So, we just talked about a bunch of
next year, Brian.
Yeah. Oh yeah, next year when things settle down, because things have not settled down as crazy as we.
Not?
Well, things not really. We thought August was going to be really crazy.
But where are the games, Brian? Where are the games?
Right. As crazy as we thought August was going to be, like we actually did get a little bit of a break in August, more so than we thought. I think, right? Because in August, it was supposed to kick off with Green Hell, and then we were supposed to get. There were rumors that we were going to get Alvo at some point in August, and then that got pushed off until September. Phasmophobia was supposed to be before the end of August, and then that got pushed off till October. And so we sort of got little breaks here and there throughout the course of the month. And then Firewall obviously launched with a bunch of problems, so that allowed a lot of people to say, well, I'm going to hold off on that. So August didn't end up being the kind of insane month we thought it was going to be. It was still great, but it certainly wasn't insane. The insane month begins now, Myles. Not only did we have the European release of B99 Overclocked, and in TOS just came out, but next week, we have 7 games coming out next week. I don't want to do this anymore. Like that's not a number I'm comfortable with. But it starts off on September 12th with Pixel Ripped 1995. This is a remastered PSVR2 version. I believe Arvory has said they are maxing the frame rate and resolution on this thing. Too many things get announced all at the same time, but I'm pretty sure they had said this and that it'll be a free update. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, it is. And it's my favorite of the series. And it could very well just be because growing up, that was the era that I identified with. Like I had a Mega Drive and things like that. I think that comes a big part of the appeal of the game and why that one resonated with me most.
Yeah, I think so too. This was definitely one of my favorite gaming periods. I thought that this was... I feel like a broken record sometimes on this show, Myles, but I do think that they made this game a little bit too family friendly, where the first one felt so... delinquent and like you were being this rebel, playing Game Boy games in class, hiding underneath the desk and trying to keep it from the teacher and like knocking shit over.
So you mean when the mum comes in, say like go to bed, you like hit her over the head with the controller?
Yeah, that's what you should have.
You wanted?
Yeah. There should have been way more domestic abuse in this game. It's a game. It's a game. Okay, listen. You can all go out and cancel me. It's fine. I'm talking about a fucking video game. I don't condone domestic violence in real life. I saw the face you made, Myles. Don't fucking start with me. I'm not in the mood today.
Oh my goodness.
No, but that's my way of saying 89 was my favorite. I thought the gameplay variety was through the roof on that. But that's good. I did like 95. So I'm looking forward to this. And seeing that the fact that they put a lot of time into all the improvements that they're making and bringing us a proper PSVR2 version, I don't think is anything to sneeze at. I would bring up the trailer for the next game, but my computer doesn't like me right now. Next one coming out, I believe, is on September 14th, and September 14th is a loaded day, and this is down and out. This has been teased and promised for years. This was going to be a PSVR 1 title, like literally 2 years ago, I thought. And the developers are advertising Down and Out as an open world brawler of some kind. The trailers up until this point, so 2 years ago, the trailers looked much different than this, and it just looked like a bunch of mini games. Is this? I mean, do you think we should be excited for this?
I mean, maybe this is the GTA VR we've been waiting for?
Maybe it is.
Or maybe it's not.
Maybe it's not.
Who knows?
Yeah.
It's hard to tell with the trailer. It could very well be the GTA VR we've all been waiting for.
I mean, it's confusing, right? It looks like you just run around and beat the crap out of people and steal delivery pizzas. I don't love that they're using click turning in the trailer. Hopefully they give us an option to actually use smooth turning in the game.
And there's basketball.
Oh, well.
Or do you say basketball over there?
Only when referring to the Matt and Trey movie of basketball.
Basketball. That was a bit. That was it. That was so good.
Really good.
Yeah, no, interesting. You can get customizable hands, so progression system. All right, I'm sold.
So September 14th being insane. That also brings the next big first-person shooter that's coming our way, which is Alvo. This is the newest launch trailer for that, coming into PSVR 2. We've been in the beta. I don't know if you been in the beta, Myles, for the PSVR 2 version. As far as I know, it's not NDA'd. It moves fast. It looks good. I had a lot of fun with it the last time I dropped in.
I had a lot of fun with it, and I was only playing with bots. I didn't actually get to play with anyone else, so I'm very much looking forward to that. But yeah, it's just the only thing I'll say is different shooters have different mechanics. Everyone's got great choice. If there's one shooter you don't like, try others, because we have just such an amazing range from manual reloading to the extreme with Pavlov to, will we say Alvo? Alvo has it's only been a couple of weeks since I played the beta. Alvo has manual reloading, right? No, it doesn't.
Alvo's got yes, it does have manual reloading. Okay. Which is in I don't know how recently they implemented that, but it took me a second when I got in there, especially using the Sense controllers, because as someone who almost exclusively played Alvo on PSVR 1 using the aim controller. Suddenly I have to figure out where all my buttons were and, when to use the trigger, when to use the grip. And once you get used to it, I feel like it really works well. I think they implemented, just enough of a manual reload system here where I think it's going to make a lot of people happy. But the funny thing is I think if you had asked me 2-3 weeks ago, is Alvo even fucking relevant anymore? Like, everyone's going to be playing Firewall. I probably would have been like, yeah, everyone's going to be playing Firewall. Alvo maybe might have missed his chance. Here I am now saying, man, I think First Contact should have gone the Alvo route and said, listen, here's a game that's been tested and played over and over, and all, and what all people wanted was an up-resed, cleaner version of it that just worked a little bit better than the old version. And I actually, I'm always happy to admit when I'm wrong. And I was absolutely wrong. I think Firewall should have gone the Alvo route. Instead of trying to do Firewall Ultra, just make a just take Firewall 0 Hour and up-res it and make it playable on PSVR2. It would have been a much better move, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to jumping into Alvo. That it's got good fast-paced action. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Cool. Do you have thoughts on Gazzlers, which also comes out on the 14th? Like, it's so crazy. The 14th is just going to be the death of me.
Remind me what Gazzlers is. This is the thing: is all the others so far I've known all about, but Gazzlers is.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was listening. You're on the back of a train. I don't know if that's the whole game, but it's certainly what I've seen in the trailer. Cell shaded. It's literally a rail shooter. You are shooting at opponents coming at you while you are traveling on rails. And very cartoony. And if it wasn't for people like Wes and Awesome Tatum and other people in our community who've actually played the demo on Steam, who said, no, this is actually fucking fun, I would have just dismissed it and said, you know what, I've got other games that are more important to spend time with right now. But knowing that people I trust are going to bat for this, saying, hey, it's actually fun, I'm actually looking forward to giving it a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I've just seen the footage now and I do remember it. I have to wait a little delay for it to appear on the live stream thing for me. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Lots of progression systems. It's arcadey fun. Yeah. Yep. We got a good mix here. I like this.
We do indeed. I am trying to speed it up just a little bit.
You're good.
Behind the Frame also got announced. Oh, right. This is the one that they didn't even bother making a 16:9 trailer of, which irritates me to no end. But there's a little, does not seem to be a terribly long experience. If you look at the reviews on Steam, some puzzles here and there, but mostly you're living the life of an artist, and that's kind of it. More, I would say, based on what I've seen, more of an experience than a game.
Okay.
And then we got Crisis Brigade, now called Crisis Brigade 2. That's coming out on September 14th.
No way.
Every game that we've talked about except for Pixel Ripped is coming out September 14th.
Wait, no, I think... Oh, no, that's coming out the 12th, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
2-day break. What game is this? Oh, yeah, Brigade. Crisis.
Well, I tell you what, it's amazing because I've been wondering what games to let's play this weekend, and I'm keep umming and ahhing. Mm-hmm. Next weekend, it's just going to be the opposite of which of these? There's going to be so much.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I will say that, I think on PSVR 1, Crisis Brigade 1 and 2 really scratched that Time Crisis itch. It really did, and it was like, this is cool. This is what I want from a Time Crisis game. And now we have Crossfire Sierra Squad, which goes above and beyond for that Time Crisis edge. And I don't want to say this is irrelevant because it does its own thing and it's really cool. And I've always loved the Crisis Brigade games, but and I'm so happy it's coming. I just hope that it really packs a punch when it gets here. 120 FPS native, 4K resolution, all that stuff. Hoping that it can hold its own against some of the bigger titles. Paul at Mississippi GameCat 445, the $2 tip says, what looks better between Firewall and Crossfire? What looks better between Firewall and Crossfire? That's tough.
It is tough because artistically, forgive me, what is is it the art style and resolution are the two ways of doing it? Yeah,
I mean, you can look at it from a technical standpoint or from an artistic standpoint. I mean, I think that's the good way to answer this.
Yeah. So artistically, I think Firewall Ultra, by far, the lighting and the engine and all that, I think is incredible. But I do actually think, even though it's more arcadey, I do think Crossfire the reprojection, I think, is quite bad in Firewall. In my opinion, and I'm someone who has never really. Maybe it's one of these things of now I've been educated about it. It's kind of I can't unsee it now. But but that's how I would answer it. I don't know. What do you think, Brian?
It's tough. I mean, I don't really have a good answer. I do think that Firewall has a nice realistic look to it. I like the art style, but from a technical standpoint, I think I'm with you. I do think that Crossfire Sierra Squad just utilizes like foveated rendering and eye tracking better, to the point where like everything just looks crisp and clear and moves fast and feels smoother. So yeah, from a technical standpoint, I think Crossfire takes it. From an artistic standpoint, yeah, I do. I love this new dark look of Firewall. The only thing I'm bummed about, which isn't part of the question that was asked, is that with all the maps that we got from the last game, why didn't we get the town? The town was my favorite one. It was the best looking one. You know, the town had like bicycles up against the wall, and you know, like little cafes and stuff. You go through the
with
little
all the gates
laundromat.
that you open and that.
Yeah, that was the best looking map on OG Firewall. That they really should have brought that over to Ultra, and I was bummed that wasn't one of them. I thought that was the guaranteed one of all of them, and it wasn't.
Although the Crossroad, or what the new map they've done for Firewall Ultra, I feel like that's a spiritual sort of interpretation of it. It's not the same, because I know you used to have the little shop that you used to go into and all the back alleys. One of my favourites, which hopefully will come at some point, is the TV station. We had all the big screens, and like that would be cool, and especially with the new engine. Really excited. One thing though is, for a game that is so dark and is done so well, I genuinely wasn't sure if it was just me, but having looked back now, I know no, it is the case. The very first thing you see when you fire up the game is Sony. Was it Sony Interactive Entertainment? Then the First Contact Entertainment. That is the icons on a black background. But it's not black. It's like a glowy green color, and so I was like, how have they not got the blacks right on that title screen? And it made me worried. And then when you go into the game, it's like, no, when it's nighttime, it's amazing. Like using the flashlight. Yeah. What's the map with the mannequins?
Oh, that's the shoot house, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
with the airplane and all the terrified passengers.
It's especially when you go to the seat, all the cameras, and then there's just a mannequin there. It's with the lighting is absolutely phenomenal.
And then we got one more game to talk about, and then we're going to tackle some of these tips that we've got here.
Cool.
The last one, I believe, is coming on the 17th. I hope I got that right. It's called Calligrapher, and nice. I literally have nothing to say about this game other than I don't think it's a game. I think it could be a calligraphy tutorial. I need to look this up and do some research. I will include it in PSVR this week. I think it's been out on Steam or other platforms. This trailer is 2 years old, so there's got to be more information than I've found on this. So I don't even know. I don't even know what to say about this. It's kind of mind-boggling.
It's another game.
Oh, maybe.
Dude, I'm up for it though. Like, looks chill. You need after murdering hundreds and hundreds of people online. Sometimes you need to just kick back and paint red on a bit of paper.
Sometimes that's what you got to do.
It is.
All right. Professor Lilith in the chat with the $5 tip. With the real Sunday Multiplayer Meetup, the game will be, holy shit, Survive, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Wow.
She says, "Arg, zombies!" Bro, I love multiplayer Survive. It is such a janky game, and the multiplayer more than makes up for all the jank. Like that's one that I had to give a low rating to, right? Like 6.5, something like that, because of all the jank. But it's so much fun with friends that it's still a game that initially made it onto our top 25 list, and then on top of that, a game that I love and that I would actually recommend to the right person. Not everybody, though.
I also have on my Spotify playlist the song "Every Cowboy" is the main song that's on the radio and stuff. I love that song so much, and like when it plays on the credits, I don't know, for some reason I'm just like, that's the perfect song for this game. It just I really connect with it. Survive's great. Really looking forward to it. It's a game I really want to platinum, and there's only one trophy I need, which is to get to, I think it's like level 50 or 60 in the survival mode. Mm-hmm. But something that irritates me about it is the way the survival mode works is you have a watch that has stats on it, and depending on your thirst and your hunger, you obviously have to grab salvage food and drink to keep it. When you've maxed it out, it improves your multiplier, so that when you're killing enemies, you're getting, you know, a higher score for each kill. But they have these massive bosses that appear, and you're all like laying into it. You have to bring all your weapons and that. My understanding is whoever gets the last bullet in the enemy that kills them gets all the XP. No one else gets any XP.
Oh, that blows.
And sometimes they turn up like once every 45 minutes, an hour. And so it's amazing. I could be like sometimes on survival mode, go an hour and barely move the level. Other times I could have been on it for an hour and gone up 4 or 5 levels. And so until I work out exactly how to do it, I've been leaving that trophy on the side, because it's a game. It's the trophy that could take you hundreds of hours, or it's one that could take you, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10. But it is a really fun mode.
There's nothing I like more, Myles, than when I'm watching our audio levels and I see that when I'm not talking, my level is almost as high as yours because of all the people revving their motorcycle engines outside.
Oh, right.
I don't know if that came through for everybody, but that's definitely what I saw. All right, man. Gaming for God. I'm sure he appreciates that. With the $5 tip, says, do you think we'll see a new AstroBot VR game at some point soon or ever? I mean, AstroBot is essentially the PlayStation mascot. I can't imagine us not ever getting an AstroBot game on PSVR 2 or on PlayStation 5. Probably a hybrid. Maybe they'll make one exclusively for PSVR 2. But he's our mascot. I mean, it might take a couple years, right? Because that's what it took a couple years for us to get one on PSVR 1. But I think it would be crazy to not get one. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they are working on something. AstroBot is a beloved property. I think Sony wants to have their own Mario kind of mascot. It's always about having that platformer mascot. Sackboy, I don't think fits the bill. No offense, Sackboy. Adore you. You're adorable. But AstroBot, just the celebration of PlayStation, the celebration of the hardware, everything that's done. But I do think they're in an interesting position now, because AstroBot was more of a VR character, but since the Playroom game has opened up to a whole new audience.
Yeah,
so I can imagine that. So I can imagine now that, whereas before it was, well, of course we're going to do AstroBot Rescue Mission 2. Now it's, well, either we do a hybrid game, or is that problematic because AstroBot has always been about leaning into the hardware and showcasing it? And if you're doing something that can be used on both, then you're kind of not leaning into the full potential of stuff, if you know what I mean. So that, I can imagine, is something they're trying to work out at the moment. But whether it is a flat screen game or a VR game, I will be playing it. I, of course, would rather have it as a VR game to see what they could do with the Sense controllers and the haptics in the headset. I would happily play AstroBot Rescue Mission remastered for PSVR 2.
Yeah. I mean, it's painful to say this over and over, but until Sony tells us what their plans are for PSVR 2 in terms of first-party software, there's really no way to tell what to expect. And I know that sounds obvious, but I also think it's obvious that they've got to have some kind of plans for their PSVR 1 games, because they spent far too much money on those games to just let them die on PSVR 1. So we look at games like Wanderer, Fragments of Fate, and say, hey, that was heavily Sony funded. And somebody somewhere, and it might have been just over at Mighty Eyes themselves, saw the potential of that game and said, this is an amazing game, and this has the potential to be our Half-Life Alyx. It just needs a little more time in the oven. Not that it wasn't already a 9 out of 10 game, but now it looks like it's about to be a 10 out of 10 game with all the elements that they've added to it coming into early 2024. So if that's Sony's mentality for all of their PSVR 1 titles, I mean, everybody's golf VR was a great kind of test, right? See, hey, people want to do this like golfing in VR. Everybody's golf tends to be, or Hot Shots golf tends to be, an arcadey type of golf game. But I think this was them kind of testing the waters and saying, do people want to do something that's more realistic in VR when it comes to this franchise? And I think the answer was across the board, yeah, this game's fucking fun as hell when you have to swing the club yourself. And so now, are we going to get Everybody's Golf 1.5 with customizable characters and multiplayer and in way more courses and, you know, use it as Sony's all about this games as a service idea. Well, fucking make these games that we really want games as service, so you can just keep bringing us new DLC, new courses to buy, new avatars to buy, right? Like get us in the door and make it a free to play game. I don't fucking care. Like do whatever you want. We just want these games, and I've got a sneaky suspicion that within the next year we're going to be hearing a lot more about these games that have been sort of forgotten about, or that everybody thinks Sony has forgotten about on PSVR 1. And they'll bring them over to PSVR 2 in a much more special manner. Because getting a straight port would be nice, and that would be the easy answer and satisfy everybody right off the bat. But I feel like they want more for these games.
True. But I do think even if there are straight ports, this is something I've mentioned time and time again since the launch of PSVR 2, there were so many games at launch. There is a benefit in holding back some of the titles and going, yes, release it next year, because as you've just touched upon there, when people see a game that's come out, oh, I forgot about that on PSVR, I can't wait to jump back into it, because the majority of PSVR 2 owners who did have a PSVR have literally had to say goodbye to that catalogue. Yeah. I've put it on once at the PSVR since PSVR 2 came out, and it was to play Bad Dreams.
Ooh, me too.
Yeah. So even if PSVR games got remastered, simple ports, 3-4 years later, I'll be happy. If Superhot comes out in 3 years' time, I'll be playing it. You know?
Yeah, I agree. And don't forget about all the people who have never played PSVR 1. That PSVR 2 is their first headset, or they're coming over from PCVR or Quest and have never played all these exclusive first-party games. And maybe they've heard about them, maybe they haven't. But I'm sure that Sony would like all these people to see the absolute best version. Imagine Blood and Truth. That was off the rails. That gave you more customization. That gave you weapon upgrades. That just went over the top with the gameplay instead of the narrative. I think there's something there, and they've already spent a good amount of money on that game. You need to spend a little bit more and make it top tier.
Yeah, just responding to two things you said then. One, the fact that, yes, a lot of people haven't even played these game titles, that is a good marketing push, because this game will be announced as a port, and then these people that never had PSVR will be hearing the community saying, oh yeah, it's back, it was such a good time. Like, that is good marketing. Like, that will get people giving a game a go that perhaps they weren't considering before. The other thing, and it's slightly off topic, but you mentioned Blood and Truth. Earlier today, when I was on LinkedIn, someone I'm connected with on there who it does design for PlayStation, was sharing some graphics he'd done of I think it was the PlayStation shapes, but with the mascots, and it was like a new design they'd done, saying this is a new one we've been working on. And I noticed in one part of it they had the Blood and Truth cover on it, which maybe it's not worth like looking into too much, but a part of me is like, well, it's clearly something they still hold in high regard as an IP, because it was there next to Aloy from Horizon and AstroBot and things like that. So London Studios, right? Yep.
I mean, we don't want to read into it. I mean, it's fun to read into it, but we don't want to read into it and say, well, this is proof positive that it's coming. But what I think it's proof positive of is that Sony hasn't forgotten. And that
exactly,
and that it's yes, it might be behind us. There might not be any talk about it right now. But let's be honest, Sony's not talking about jack shit right now. Right? There are rumors of an upcoming state of play. There's rumors of a showcase, which means it must be Friday of any day of any fucking month in the last 24 months, because that's all anybody wants is a new state of play and a new showcase. So but there are rumors of that, and sometimes like Sony's really good at not letting things leak. And even the last showcase we had was disappointing. There's so many studios working on so many things, and we are just fucking clueless. Even the things they revealed, they only showed like teasers of. They some of them they didn't even show gameplay or even an in-game image, anything. They just showed some CGI teaser trailer. So I think Sony's got so many secrets up their sleeve, in knowing that the way that they treat VR, which is sort of, as their redheaded stepchild, they just kind of say, well, we're going to bring you shit, but we might not promote it or make a big deal about it, but we're going to bring you shit. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would just add to that, because I know people often get discouraged about, where are the big first-party titles for PSVR2 and like...
Wait. People are discouraged that in the first 7 months, we've already gotten 2 AAA hybrid titles and Sony paid for Village to come over, which wouldn't have happened otherwise. This is not what you get in the first 7 months of any console or any headset ever. Like we're already doing better. We're already eating better than everyone else.
100% with you. And on top of that, because I wasn't saying that to say that I agree with him. I think it's absurd.
No, I know. I just wanted to use it as a jumping off point.
No, and it was. I'm really glad you did, because I would have not laboured that point enough. The other part of it is, let's just accept that you are right, and there hasn't been. Look at it in proportion of how many PSVR2 headsets have been sold compared to PS5. PlayStation 5 first-party new titles. We know very little about what's coming up. We talk about what's Naughty Dog up to, or Santa Monica Studios. All of these we don't know. And so when you consider PSVR2 is a smaller ecosystem as a percentage of total games launched, compared to like the audience that owns the headset, we're being spoiled.
Yep.
And it's not to say we shouldn't demand better or want more, but and as I shared in the chat a moment ago, we're 198 days since the launch, like not even a year. It's still super, super early.
And the stuff we're getting, I know it's third-party stuff, but the stuff we're getting over the next, forget about the next week, which we already detailed, the next 2 months, October is ridiculous. And then now November, December is starting to fill up too. And so we certainly don't have a lack of things to play. This is the best VR has ever been. And it's great seeing that all third parties are saying, oh, and don't worry, we've got a PSVR2 version coming too. This is not, even if it's not coming day and date with their Quest and Steam versions, even the small developers out there, who is it? The System Critical developer had a long chat with over DMs on Twitter, and everybody wants to bring their game to PSVR2. I was talking to flat screen developers, and they're like, man, if our game launches and it launches well on the flat screen, if we get good results on a launch on Steam, then we'll absolutely be considering VR. We'll absolutely be considering PSVR 2. And so it's not just VR studios on other platforms. It's flat screen developers on every platform saying, yeah, I think our game would work really well in VR. And PSVR 2 is on everybody's lips, which is really nice to hear, because that's not the way it was for years, Myles. PSVR 1 was not on anybody's lips for the last few years of that headset.
Yep.
All right, man. Dude, we got some tips to read off here. And thank you to everybody for all your support. As always, generous. The show is like energizing, because I didn't even want to get out of bed. I've been sick since last night. Myles has been roughing it too. So thank you guys for being here and keeping our energy level up. We appreciate it. Blazing Phoenix 82 with the $20 tip says, there's no specific reason for this chat other than to continue to support this channel and your guest, Bryan. And your guest, Bryan, Myles. Your guest, Myles, Bryan. I don't know how to say that properly. Love the content. Thank you, Blazing Phoenix, so much for your support. We appreciate you. As we also appreciate Ace Gamer with his $20 tip, or their $20 tip.
Ace Gamer.
Yeah, not to brag or anything, but Ace Gamer's an Ace Gamer. Yeah.
Pretty ace.
So I do have to say, Myles, you don't brag very much about your video game skills, but whenever I play a multiplayer game with you and then I see the stats, you are carrying every team I've ever been on. Myles doesn't brag enough. Like, he might be like, oh, I get the platinum trophy and this or that, whatever. But man, like, Myles is actually a really good gamer. I got to hand it to you.
I appreciate that. I'll put that on my, I was going to say CV. You call it a resume. Yeah. In America.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, is that why I haven't gotten any jobs in the UK that I've applied for? Because I'm like, here's my resume. And they're like, what the fuck is that? Trash pile.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's Latin. Don't ask me what for.
Ace Gamer with the $20 tip says, my tip is long overdue. I never get to see any of these live. Any news at all on an Iron Man for PSVR2, or did Camouflage completely drop the ball on this? Do you guys even care about seeing another one of these? I don't think there's anybody out there that doesn't want to see Iron Man VR 1.5 on PSVR 2, right? I think everyone's on the same page. When you pull the triggers and you take off from the ground, I think we all had that same reaction. It was like, whoa, this is crazy. I love having this complete sense of freedom in VR. It feels so good. And I don't think, even though the Camouflage was sold to, or they were bought by Meta, I don't think that means anything, right? Because Sony owns the IP for this game. And I think they could get pretty much any studio to add to it and give us things that we really wanted to be added to the game to make it feel a little more, more like a full-fledged game, a full-fledged adventure, rather than sort of the wave shooter that the levels end up feeling like.
And as pure and utter speculation, I just feel that there's a deal going on. Beat Saber came to PSVR 2.
Yep.
Isn't Ghostbusters coming to? Or I don't know if it says it's coming to Quest first, but obviously Quest got they promoted it on their
right. It should be launching simultaneously on all headsets.
Right.
But yeah, they did get the premiere.
They got to showcase it first, didn't they? Even though it said it's from Sony. So clearly there is some there's trade-offs. Sony has IP, and they know how to use it. If we've seen what happened with the last Spider-Man movie, what Sony managed to do with Marvel was pretty spectacular. There's every hope that they can say, hey, let's get Iron Man back.
Yeah, and to answer the question, no, we haven't heard anything. At least I haven't heard anything. I don't know if Myles has his ear to the ground over there, but I generally hear rumblings of these things, and I haven't heard any rumblings of it. I am going to be super happy and surprised when it gets announced, if it ever gets announced.
Yeah,
it was, dude. I mean, so many people that I think I've got this right. That Marvel's Iron Man VR came out the same year as Saints and Sinners Chapter 1 did on PSVR 1, and so many people, despite Saints and Sinners being one of the best PSVR games we ever got, so many people still called Iron Man VR not only their favorite game of that year, but also one of their favorite PSVR games, hands down. And it won easily. It easily won our Viewers' Choice award that year as the best PlayStation VR 1 game of the year. So there's a lot of love for Iron Man out there, and I think we could repeat that on PSVR 2 easily. Social Destruct with the $10 tip says, great show. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Social Destruct. We will do our absolute best.
Hit the like button. Sorry, I tried to keep it in. I couldn't keep it in.
You just barfed that up like really.
Hold it down. Hit the like button. Sorry. I try my best.
Yeah, we appreciate all the love out there, for real. Whether that be in the form of tips or whether in the form of hitting the like or subscribing to my channel, Myles' channel over there at youtube.com/Myles. We appreciate it. And don't forget, money is always secondary around here. It might even be tertiary. We try to offer as much as we possibly can without asking for any money. And that includes our Discord. So many Discords out there ask for money to join. I just joined a Discord where you had to be a $5 Patreon or more to be part of it. And it's content creator that I absolutely love. So I thought it was worth it. But our Discord is completely free. So make sure you come hang out and shoot the shit with all of us and continue these conversations over there 24/7. All right, man. Well, we talked a lot about what's happening in the future, or what we hope will happen in the future when it comes to PSVR 2. But something that just happened yesterday was that Walkabout got some new DLC. Did you happen to jump in and play the new Alfheim DLC?
Yeah, dude. Just before the show, and as I put my headset on, it wasn't turning on, and I panicked. And the little the part of the cable at the front was actually unplugged.
Oh,
you know,
the USB-C cable.
Yeah, because it's got the little it's got the wide bit with the shapes on them. It's that thing of like, yeah, that definitely disconnects, but I never want to try it. It was actually out. So I plugged it back in. It works fine. But yeah, Walkabout Mini Golf
on the headset itself.
Yeah,
No. Now I know what you're talking about because you said it had the sacred symbols on it. Yeah, now I know what you're talking about. Okay, cool.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's detachable, you guys. The wire for the PSVR2 is detachable. Who would have fucking thought? Craziness.
I know.
Yep.
Because no one ever said that.
No.
Annoying. Walkabout Mini Golf. I do have a lot of notes here, so I'm just going to say my initial thoughts and then go to you, and then we can go in a bit more detail.
It's up to you. If you just want to rant, I don't mind sitting back and put my feet up for a minute.
Okay.
All right.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah, just feet up. Yeah. What a beautiful map. I think it might be feet cam.
So it's turning somebody on out there, Myles. It's working for somebody.
Yeah, someone out there will be happier right now. That's good. Bryan, do we think it's the smallest Walkabout mini golf map?
Oh, that's interesting you say that. It does feel condensed in the fact that like it kind of wraps around itself a lot.
Yes.
And I did think that it was really small, but I would have brought that up during this discussion because that didn't stick with me as I played it. But you're right. It does feel like it kind of, although it feels like it was designed for a real miniature golf course where they were limited on real estate and had to make the most of the geography around them. And so, it does feel small in that regard, especially if you played something like Seagull Stacks, right? Which is just like, thousands of feet above the ocean, and it just goes like one after another after another. Yeah, right. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I understand.
And that's not a criticism, because the next thing I say will also be something that people think, oh, is this a criticism? It's not, but it's a much simpler course in terms of each of the holes are just lots of flats. The obstacles tend to be nothing gimmicky, like it's not anything being animated. It's just all about accuracy through like gates and sort of the curvature of the walls and stuff. Again, I don't think that's an issue. The strength of Walkabout Mini Golf is the diversity of courses, not just in terms of their themes, but also in terms of the styles of the courses themselves. And so I do think that this is a really simple map that is beautiful to look at. And it just reminded me in terms of what my favorite thing is about this game, other than obviously the gameplay, which is great. The music, the audio design in Walkabout Mini Golf is just phenomenal. Whether it's the sound of like waterfalls as you're going past them, the music, it's incredible how they've got a balance where the audio design makes you feel so present in the world, but it's not intrusive. It's also very peaceful and calming. I mean, I'd even go as far to say that I think because of the audio design, especially in a map like this, I actually think that this is a great game for people that deal with with anxiety or stress or need some mindfulness. I feel so calm when playing this game, and obviously it's different when you're playing, multiplayer where there's a competitive edge, maybe you're being a bit rowdy. That's totally cool. But when you're on your own, just the peacefulness, the running of the water, things like that, it's one of the best VR experiences for that reason.
Yeah, and it's always something that I enjoy yet also criticize about most of Walkabout's courses is that I do feel like they're constantly trying to put you to sleep with their soundtrack. Like, it's a very peaceful environment. Most of them are very peaceful, but it's also this added thing where I'm like, am I at a funeral? Like, what is it? Is this just the background music they're playing? And I'm like kneeling at my aunt's casket. Like, something seems like too tranquil, right?
Yes.
Because you think about Walkabout, or you think about mini golf in real life, and it always feels kind of like over the top and bouncy and cartoony, and they've got like, maybe like a lot of music blaring, and there's a lot of people everywhere, and it's like the opposite of the feeling I have in Walkabout, which is usually very tranquil.
Do we think I was thinking this might be a cool feature because I know they compose all the music themselves.
Yeah, it's one guy. One guy
yeah.
does all the music for all the courses. He's amazing.
Absolutely incredible. It makes me think that there maybe should be an option then that you can say like, what kind of mood are you in? And then you got the tranquil, and then you've got a more like fun party version of it. Maybe they just add a drum beat over it. But
the fact is most of the time when we play this game, we're going to be in there with friends, and you don't want something loud or bouncy and obnoxious that's competing with the party chat. So it doesn't bother me in the slightest, and I do like the kind of mood that it sets. In this place specifically, it's got the falling leaves. It's got the light shining through the trees. It's got that almost like ray traced effect, which it's obviously not, but it has that feel to it. And everything is very, very tranquil in this. Tranquil in this. And I don't think they reinvented the wheel on this. I think that they just use very clever course design to make it feel special. And that said, a lot of each hole has these barriers, these borders that slope and turn in all sorts of different ways. And learning how to use those to get a hole in one or a birdie or an eagle is what this one feels all about. And it sort of doesn't really even seem like it hides it. It sort of wears it on its sleeve that says, hey, you want to figure out how to use the edges of this to send your ball in the right direction and get to the end way faster than you would otherwise. Yeah.
Whenever I play new maps, I always try and not use the teleport to the next hole. I try and walk around, and try not to fly around so I don't go under the ground, because I think it was the Journey to the Center of the Earth I did it on. And as soon as you go under the ground, you tend to be able to clip and like view all the other aspects of the map, and you can often spoil the nice surprise. And for Journey to the Center of the Earth, I definitely spoiled the ending there. But on this course, I thought, right, going to be walking it. I did face a couple of glitches on this map where there were invisible walls where I wasn't able to walk to where I needed to get to, and I had to basically teleport to the next bit. That's stuff that will obviously get fixed, but I've never experienced that in Walkabout Mini Golf before, so that is something that I hope they were able to fix, because it was just a minor inconvenience.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was going to mention, and I won't go into too many specifics because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but the hard course, the night time, once the closing time is done, I thought it was great. Without going into specifics, but I do want to ask you the question, Brian. I mean, firstly, I'll ask you, did you play the hard course or check out the hard course?
I have not. No, I unlocked it and meant to get back to this game when I played it yesterday, I believe, and then never got back to it because I started feeling sick and just didn't. I always prefer the nighttime maps, though, and so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
I didn't play it, but I was confused at the very beginning of it, because I think, and so this will be a question, people can say yes or no in the chat if you have played it, without going into specifics because I don't want to spoil it, but I think it's the first time they've taken a decision with how hard mode plays out in this, and I'm curious to know, because this is the thing about Walkabout Mini Golf. I think there's one or two maps I've still not played yet. It's just so much content.
Yep.
And it's not that you're just going to play a new one after the other. When you're playing with friends, they might want to play one that you've played before. So it's not just as simple. The amount of content this game has is just incredible, and I love this game. And as long as they keep adding to it, I'm going to keep playing it.
As far as my footage is concerned, we got GC13, the Pepsi Cat in the chat, who says, "LOL, love the disconnection or disconnected notification," because sometimes I remember to take my left sense controller and hold the PlayStation button for 10 seconds and turn it off, while I'm waiting for everyone to show up for the match. And sometimes I just throw it in the laundry basket next to me. And so in the middle of something like this, it just says, "Oh, left controller disconnected." So yeah, that's definitely a thing. And also shout out to I played this with 4D, Nick, and Orseek yesterday. So shout out to my competitors who proceeded to whip my ass. I feel like I'm pretty good at Walkabout most days. I was not good at Walkabout yesterday. There's not even close.
When you have those days where it just doesn't connect, can be incredibly frustrating. And Owando, the game cat,
no, Kirnando. No. Sorry, that was terrible. AJ should have been here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gifted 20 PSVR2 without Pro memberships. So thank you very, very much. And huge congrats to everyone in the chat who is the screen has just become a wall of new members. So you get a little icon next to your name. Welcome to the club, everyone.
Hell yeah. 20 people, all new memberships, courtesy of Owando Cat, Kirnando Cat. Thank you very much, Owando. Super sweet of you. And we gotta start making these memberships worthwhile. Like, you do get a monthly free super chat, which is great. But we definitely want to have some custom emojis and everything. A lot to get done before the 100K creeps up on us. Oh. Get in my belly, Gamecat Wilkins with the $20 tip says, "Hope you two feel better. Meow meow." Thank you, Get in my belly, Gamecat Wilkins. I think a pizza will make me feel better. Also, Owando Cat with the level 3 membership says, "Whoop." That's using that option to its full extent. Very nice. Amazing. And then Blazing Phoenix 82, welcome to being a level 3 member. It means a lot, Myles, when people are like, "I'll become a fucking member of your channel on YouTube," even though currently it means I don't really get anything. I obviously want to reward people as much as possible for when they support the channel, and I hope at some point you'll get more regular rewards. But right now you don't really get a ton of rewards, barely ever. So it means even more to me that you're doing this just to help out the channel and help me out and keep the channel running. So thank you so much, everybody.
The badge is nice, and also some people just don't. It's like you could do a super chat, but I don't really want to say something that gets held up. So some people don't want that. A membership is a more nice passive way of supporting the channel, because one of the nice things, as you will see, is it does keep you updated and gives you like free super chats, and it tells you how long you've been a member for. And there's been other channels I've been members of, and it is amazing when you just one day look at it and it's like you've been a member for a year, and I'm just like, wow, yeah. Like, it's a great way of putting the flag down and realizing how long you've been a part, of that for. But as always, donate what you can if you want, and if not, just joining the ride and watching, getting involved in the conversation, or even just watching, it all helps, and we appreciate you for it.
Yep. All right, man. Well, that brings
any
us
other thoughts? Yeah, I was just going to say, any final thoughts on it? I mean, for me, it's a simple course. It's beautiful to look at. It's a lot of fun. If you love Walkabout mini golf and you've enjoyed all the other courses so far, do it. The last course was the spy place, wasn't it?
Laser layer. Yep.
Yeah. So very different. This is not another bombastic, like lots of animations and that going on. Massive island to explore. This is very simple, but it works, and I love that diversity of this game. It's its strength for sure.
Yeah. Never gets old. Walkabout never gets old. Having new places to play all the time. It's funny that you say, there are original courses you haven't even played yet because you just jumped in when it came out on PSVR2. I've got over 100 hours in this thing on Quest 2, right? So by the time I got to PSVR2, I was like, yes, I'm so ready for some new courses. So it's funny and I don't know if anybody's noticed, but they updated the Hole-in-One edition on the PlayStation Store. And yes, they raised the price. It's like $43 or something like that now, but they also included more courses. So, so for people who are getting into it now, the Hole-in-One makes sense. So it's never going to be a season pass where they keep giving you all the free stuff, all the new courses for free. That was never their intention, but to keep making the bundle bigger and bigger and bigger for new people getting into Walkabout is pretty cool.
If the devs are watching, I have one feature request that I'd like you to have. There are so many balls in the game now. It'd be nice if you had your little favorite bit on the table, so you could favorite balls and just have them on the side. Because if you want to switch them up, you're just like, oh god, where was that ball that I found? That's really, really good. It'd be nice to have your own little favorite pile. That's it. I just want to say that.
I want a trash bin to get rid of all the ones I don't want.
There we go.
And then they can just sit in the trash, right? And so that I can be like, if I ever want to get them back, they're just hanging out in that trash can over there.
You actually have to, it's a mini game. You go to a landfill site and you have to sort of dig up with your club and find it.
You find an ET cartridge, Temple of Doom cartridge.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right, man. Well, let's get to the news story. of the day, which is going to be the thing we probably talk about the least, but that is that over on the PlayStation blog, they detailed, as they do every single month, the monthly sales charts.
And I haven't actually seen this, so I'm excited to actually see the results.
Oh, wonderful. So I'm going to bring that up on the screen here for everybody. There it is. Let me bring this up. Okay, so the PlayStation Store, August 2023, top downloads. Don't forget, everybody, this only pertains to digital purchases. So if any of these things have physical versions or whatever, that's not going to be included in the sales. The PS5 stuff, the PS4 stuff, and then we get down here to what we care about, and that is the PlayStation VR 2. They don't have numbers next to them anymore, so we just have to assume that they are in order, in fact, starting at the very bottom. I'm going to go with the US stuff, but you can see, obviously, to the right of that is the EU. But number 10 is The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, Chapter 2, Retribution. Number 9 is Red Matter 2. 8, Synapse. 7, Green Hell. 6, Swordsman VR. 5 is Walkabout Mini Golf. 4 is Crossfire Sierra Squad. 3 is Pavlov, launch title, still holding on. 2 is Beat Saber, which is crazy that's not number 1. And what's crazier is that number 1 is indeed Firewall Ultra. I mean, first impressions, Myles, what do you think of this top 10 sales list?
A lot of shooters, which I'm not surprised about, but at the same time, I don't know how I feel about that, because like shooters in VR, like shooters are popular game genres anyway, but I just think it's because quite recently we've had a lot added. So yeah, Synapse is still doing good, which is great to see.
Nihilus Ryan, the game Feline, my dream cat, in case you missed out on Wednesday, said, sad that VR Skater isn't up there as it launched in the most complete form of any game last month. Yeah, a little disappointing, I will say. But I will say that I'm shocked that there are so many games. I mean, Walkabout Mini Golfs, it's great that that's getting love. I didn't know if we were going to see Green Hell even chart, because so many people say, I think horror is a small niche, but I think even smaller than that is Green Hell, survival games. Meaning Green Hell, I didn't think was even going to make the charts, because I do think you're right. I think most people do prefer zombies and shooters, which I do see we see a lot of on this.
And it's also interesting to see what games are in the EU. What I love is actually the UK is technically we're not in the European Union anymore. So EU is like, I know it stands for Europe.
Are you not feeling represented on this list, Myles?
Hopefully the UK is including that. I know it is, but it is interesting to see what titles exist in one and not the other. So under EU, you've got Kayak VR, and you've also got the Room VR. It's interesting to see those two, because also that might give you some indication of what also was probably like just missed the chart on the US Canada side. So the Room VR and Kayak, and then what is on? And then there's no Walkabout Mini Golf, and then what's
you bastards?
Yeah, I know. And then Synapse isn't on the EU either, which again I find surprising. But then it could have been that a lot of people bought it at launch. But yeah, that's interesting to see.
Yeah, Synapse has that feel of a game that, there was so much hype surrounding it leading up to launch, and Dreams, got out to all sorts of content creators a long time before launch, letting people preview it, and then everybody had the game for 10 days before launch, so everybody had a review up on day one, right? So like, I do think that game of more than any would say, okay, well, people had enough information before launch to actually pre-order it. So I think day one sales of that were probably crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would say like top 4 games are the solid across the board. So it's Firewall, Pavlov, Beat Saber, and Crossfire Sierra Squad. There's a few others that are sort of switched around and stuff, but as those 4, it's a good time to being a shooter. And Beat Saber for the second month running has been pipped to the post by a new game. Because was it last month that Synapse, or was it the one before? No, it was announced. It would have been announced last month. Synapse beat Saber, didn't it?
Yeah, it always throws me because Right, because I don't, because it's always the previous month, and it always takes place like, you know, almost 2 weeks into, or a full week into this month. So yeah, it always throws me a little bit.
But that's good to see with Green Hell. As you said, I'm glad Green Hell's doing well. I'm glad to see Red Matter 2 is there. Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 is an interesting one, just because I do think it might struggle with the chart a bit more, because there's a lot of people that have not had a PSVR, and they look at that game and go, oh, before I buy that, I'm going to play the first one.
Right.
So that might be happening as well.
We might be burying the lead a little bit here, or avoiding the conversation that probably needs to be had, and that's at Firewall Ultra at number 1 on both charts.
Incredible.
Do you think that this proves people do not practice what they preach in our pre-ordering games? Do you think that this includes refunds that people have gotten on the PlayStation Store? And do you think that, despite the fact that it's number 1, that all those people are happy with their purchase?
A lot of questions there.
You take the second part first, Chuck.
Well, firstly, can I just ask, Synapse last month, when it charted at the top, was that for both regions as well?
I don't know. I didn't even know that it hit number 1. I didn't remember that properly.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. You know, I'm not surprised it's done well. You know, this is a game that is held in high esteem from Firewall 0 Hour. It was one of the best titles on PSVR. Mm-hmm. People do look towards this game as an epic shooter. And I think for people that are into shooters, it's a hardcore shooter game. You know, I remember putting my dad into Firewall 0 Hour, and the tutorial is one of the best tutorials ever made in a game, which is why I was so disappointed by the tutorial in this sequel. Yeah. And then as soon as he went into a multiplayer match, he got killed straight away, and then getting shouted at by the team like, oh, why were you doing that? And it's like, yeah, this is not a friendly game for people that are new to it. So this is a hardcore game. I can't remember what the other two questions were in terms of are people happy? Are people going to be happy with it?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, I there's no way that this chart has anything to do with the number of people who refunded the game, right? This is just people who bought it, and then and good luck getting a refund is the other part of this, I guess, because they really do make you jump through 20 hoops and make you stay on the phone for like 30 minutes, and it's not easy to get a refund if you can even get one.
Yeah,
it's very seldom. I mean, I couldn't. My one experience with Sony trying to get a refund was for Boxing Apocalypse, and they were like, "Oh, it sounds like there's something wrong with your PlayStation camera." And I said, "Nope, I've played every PSVR 1 game there is." And they were like, "Well, have you tried turning it off and turning it back?" I was like, "Yep." I was like, "The game is broken. You've got to trust me on this one. The game is broken, and you shouldn't be selling it to anyone." And so, and even then, they were like, "Sorry, there's nothing we can do. You started the game." And so the fact that people are getting refunds for Firewall Ultra is actually somewhat reassuring. That it's not impossible, but it's still not good. I'll say that. The question was, are people just not practicing what they preach? People's like, we're never going to pre-order games again. And then like, look at the sales for Ultra. I think if people had waited and heard the impressions and figured out some of the faults, maybe it wouldn't have hit number 1 in the sales charts.
I think there's two answers to this question. One is, I think just the player pool of VR isn't big enough to have that much sway, and that might seem like a bit of a contradiction. I mean, I might even start questioning if I've made a right point here, but I feel like because VR is such a small group of people, I just feel like that if it was a flat screen game, I think there would just be many more refunds. It's not actually about a percentage, and I think there would be a lot more conversation of warning. This game got delayed. It kept being delayed, and so there was this real sense of it's finally ready. It's going to be put out there. I definitely was feeling confident about it. I thought they've definitely learned from what happened the first time round. And even though that no one was getting reviews ahead of launch, I didn't. Some people go, "Oh, these are red flags." That wasn't actually a red flag for me. I was like, it makes sense, and that might be me being naive. But yeah, I mean, look, you got to vote with your wallet. I think generally speaking, you shouldn't buy pre-orders unless they're offering something really good that's going to be specially for it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for a game like this, you can have all the special things you want. Once you're in game, if you're not able to team up with your friends. I mean, the one thing that breaks my heart most about seeing this is when I do see people commenting going, I convinced my friend to get this game to play with me, and now we can't play it together.
Right.
I mean, that stings. Because that's not even just about it's a consumer getting a game that's faulty for them. It's like, and this might sound a bit extreme, but it's like they've convinced a friend to spend money, and then like that's going to look bad on them as well. So yeah, there's a sour taste in my mouth. And every time I jump back on this game after a patch, I joke about it, but it's a general feeling that I got. I used to have it with Destiny when I had issues with the game. When you start having issues on the game, it's just like I just feel it in my stomach straight away, and it's like I know every time I come back to this game to give it a go and it's not working, when it finally works, I'm going to feel less enjoyment because I'm just going to constantly have this association psychology of like, what's the next issue going to be?
Yep. Dude, I mean, before Wednesday's show, right? I got in and played multiple rounds. I brought my team in. There were 4 of us. We found a match immediately. We played against 4 other people. As everybody knows, it was Petrifying Pumpkins team. And we just played match after match after match without issue. And I said, holy shit, Firewall's fixed. This is amazing. Like, we jumped right in. Everything worked over and over and over again. Everybody's on the right teams. And then I was so excited to play that after, so I wanted to play more after the show. And I played 3 hours after Wednesday's Gamescast. And man, the number of times we had to restart the game just to make it work properly was like 15 times. It was crazy. And so it's so frustrating right now. And in saying, and I know there's people out there who don't even understand what we're talking about. They're like, oh, it's already great as is, right? And so when my review goes out and it's going to be a 5 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10, at best, there's going to be people that are mad about that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, no matter how much fun we're having, when it works, when the game is fundamentally broken, that means it's you can't really recommend it to people. Like, the hardcore people out there who just want to play Firewall will put up with this shit and restart the game and regroup up, re-squad up with their friends 15 times over a 3-hour period. The hardcore people will do that, but most people aren't. Most people, it's going to happen once or twice for some people, and they say fuck this game and delete it and try to get a refund. And those are the people that need a review. The people who aren't going to put up with this shit.
I remember explicitly when playing 0 Hour, there was a time where all the servers were messing up. This was like after launch. Yeah. And I'll never forget, me and my friend Johnny, we got on and we literally looked at our watches and it'd been 40 minutes and we still hadn't got into a game, and we went, what are we doing? What are we doing? And I feel that. There's a few people teasing in the chat because this did actually happen to me and some of the Gamecats. I think it was yesterday or the day before we jumped in. So we jumped in. We wanted to play some Exfil. We were only able to play it on private. We weren't able to do it public, even though there was 4 of us. And technically it's the same mode. It's just 4 of us. We're not trying to, matchmake with anyone else. But when you do it on private, you don't get any XP. And then we did some PvP. And PvP worked fine for a bit. Although, and this annoys me more and more as I see this trailer on repeat, there's a very, very particular moment in this where they're creeping up with the knife and then stab them in the back. At launch, I tried doing this in Exfil on a NPC, and the knife went through them. So, like, it couldn't even stab them. And then I'm seeing it now, and I'm just like, oh, that's why it cuts away. That's why it cuts away as they're about to stab them, because it then goes through them.
Oh, we didn't promise you anything.
Right. Yeah, they didn't see that. But then yesterday, when we were playing, someone on the other team was AFK. Mm-hmm. Jeff, his name was. I remember we just kept going, oh, it's Jeff. Jeff, he's guarding the laptop because he's not moving. And so one of the trophies is to get a kill with a knife from behind, and also another one is to do it with your eyes closed. So I'm literally stood next to it, behind him, closing my eyes, and with the knife, and I'm like, is he dead? And I open my eyes, and the knife is just going through his back. It's not working. Anyway, that was one glitch. We then go back to some PvP. We were playing PvP. Go and play some Xfil. We're like, give it another go. Still have no luck. And then we decide, all right, well, PvP was working. Let's do that. It didn't. It just stopped working. And then in the end, the final straw was, I kid you not. You know, sometimes in the lobby room, it puts you into like 6 people on one side and 2 on the other.
Yep.
But then when it goes into the match, it works out. We went into a match, and I think it was Sasslord and I. It was just me and him. It was 2v6. It was us 2 versus 6 people. Which
shouldn't even be possible. How do you have 6 people on one team?
We were curious to know if we killed 4 of the other team, would it have then counted as But of course we weren't going to win. We got absolutely slaughtered. It was just unbelievable. So, look, I have, and I always say this, I have a lot of empathy for the devs that are working tirelessly to get this fixed. Yep. But the question I have again and again, and this is pure speculation, I do think this is potentially just a Sony publishing decision. They should have done a pre-order, if they did a pre-order, and say, we're going to do an early access. If it's this sort of game, and then you can say, in the early access, we're testing it, we're working out. If they'd done it for just 2 weeks before, it's a way of pushing pre-orders, because like, oh, this is a great game. Well, if you buy this, you can then get early access. You can do it as a premium price. You're going to get all the hardcore gamers that are going to be giving good feedback. And then you're also covering yourself for when it doesn't work. But instead, it's like, it's launched and we're 2 weeks in, and I just still feel frustrated when I'm logging into it, because the black on the intro screen is glowing green. I know it's a non-problem, but it's like, even when that's the case. So yeah, I just feel very conflicted. I have a lot of empathy for the devs. I know they're working hard, and I wish them all the best with this. But on the other hand, I'm like, you know, burn me once, shame on me, or shame on you. I can't remember what the saying is. I'm going to do a George Bush thing.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
I mean, having empathy for developers, absolutely. I think we've, said that over here numerous times. It's so funny, Myles, because when I tweet something, when I tweet here, you know what? Let me just.
And while you grab this up, I'll just add to it quickly by saying this, which is, when we criticize games, it does come from a place of love, and the frustration is Firewall Ultra is an amazing. There's an amazing game there. We've played 0 Hour. I've put tens, hundreds of hours into it. It's an amazing game. What do I want to do? I want to play this, and the fact I can't play it, and every time I go in, I go, I'm going to give it a go, but am I now going to be wasting 40 minutes trying to get a game loaded? Because it's not just about starting up the game. It's, we've got a group of people to play,
right?
And then it's not working. It's just incredibly frustrating and depressing. And I just basically want to you get these updates. They've done a patch that should solve these issues. And obviously you're not going to know until we dive back in. But a part of me is like, do you know what? Just tell me when it's fixed. But there's not a black and white answer for that, because it fixes for some people and then new problems form and this sort of stuff. But sorry, continue, Brian.
Oh, it's all good. Truant Pixel, who's in the chat, by the way, developer of Runner and 2MD VR Football, is about an hour behind the rest of us. So hello in the future, Truant Pixel.
Yes.
Clarified a question we had wicked a long time ago in this stream, saying, yes, you can indeed have a separate flat screen resolution for the social view. We do this, but it requires the use of a separate camera, which can greatly increase overhead, meaning it affects performance of the game itself.
That's it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Which is, that's good to know.
Yeah, even if it's a little late, happy to get it eventually. Yeah, good information.
This is what I love about this community. It's not just fans and gamers and commenters and reviewers. The devs get involved as well, and it's just so cool to have this direct insight into it, even if it's not the answer we want.
Right. So yeah. Anyway, the point is that what I was trying to say is that, like, it's you can empathize with developers and also criticize their games, right? Yeah. There's this massive line that people continually ignore and run over and think it's acceptable. Say, hey, I spent $40 on your game. You need to, you should burn and die in a fire, and it's ridiculous. And I kind of made a joke about that, saying, gamers in 1990 were like, oh gee, I can't wait to see what developers made for us. And then gamers in 2023 is completely different, saying if you didn't make the exact game I wanted, the way that I wanted it to be played, then you're a lazy developer and you deserve to burn and die in a fire or something along those lines. And people still don't understand, Myles, that there's the differentiation I'm trying to make here. It's like, yes, you can criticize games, and yes, you can demand better, but there's also like being a fucking human being, and that's the line that too many people don't understand. It's like, be a human being and treat other people like human beings, because right now, like our industry is embarrassing. It's embarrassing to call yourself a gamer when you see what some people are out there doing and saying, calling themselves gamers, and saying, and they're saying it under the guise of, if you don't demand better, then you won't get better. You'll constantly just be given garbage, which isn't true. What they haven't done yet, Myles, is try to ask nicely and try to be nice and treat each other with compassion. They've reverted to this way without actually trying the other way first. So don't ever fucking feed me that garbage. Anybody out there who treats developers less than human. It's okay to be as mad as you want to about a game and say it has tons of faults, but don't ever treat anybody less than human. Anybody. And if you do, fucking stay out of our community. All right? Not having that today or any other day. That's the end of my rant, Myles. I swear.
No, it's not. It's not a rant, and it's been very, very well said. And I do kind of see echoes of this with, like political or discourse, any discourse online where there's disagreement and there's tribalism and things like that. Right. Because there is something that will be uttered by some people, and it might be in the chat, it might not. And you see this again and again with online discourse. There'll be people that hear this and say, oh, so you're saying we can't criticize, and when we pay money that we can't demand it? Exactly. We're not saying that. And if that is what you're doing, is just demanding that and giving criticism, then we're not talking about you. We're not talking about you. You shouldn't worry about that if you are being compassionate. You can be frustrated, but it's about being mindful of when you put stuff in text form, there isn't body language, there isn't facial expression or tone of voice. Things can come across a lot more difficult. When I've seen bugs in games, I take screen grabs and screenshots and stuff, and I send it to the developers. If they have a Discord, I link it. I say it's happened in this context. Just to flip it the other way around. I often get asked over the years, how do I deal with hate online or negative comments? And my answer has always been this: if someone leaves me a comment that is nasty, but there's something I could respond to, as in there's actually, if they just say, go fuck yourself, there's not really a lot I can do with that. So I'm going to kind of leave it. But if they say, go fuck yourself after saying this, or something like that, it could still be unreasonable, but I feel like, okay, I'm going to give them one chance and I'll respond. And there's been many times where they then say, oh, actually, yeah, I was a bit much. Sorry about that. And it's totally cool.
Most people are reasonable. That's what you find out when you start talking to them.
Exactly. And so the reason I give that perspective is, on the other side, is it's always about is what I'm projecting right now, is that something of constructive worth? Can they do something with this? Because in the case of Firewall, telling them it's broken, yeah, they know this. And again, people should say stuff like, come on guys, what's happened? Again, asking a question is fair. But the final point I make on this, and then my rant is over on it, and I'm glad we are sort of having this discussion about empathy and that, is we always talk about the bystander effect. You often see it in videos where something kicks off on a tube or on a bus, and it's why did no one step in? If there was some homophobic slur given at someone, people don't want to intervene. Right. This also should happen on Discords and stuff like that. And sometimes it can be difficult, but courage is contagious. If you see someone being completely unreasonable, engage with them. Say, hey, dude, you're totally right to be frustrated, but you might want to think about. Don't condemn them. Just give them at least a chance to say, you might want to rephrase it. And, they might say, you know what? Yeah, I apologise. I was a bit heated in the moment. I've spent the last of my, disposable income on a game that isn't working. And courage is contagious, because when you start doing that, other people then feel the courage to also join in, not pile in. And that's how you create a less toxic community. And community isn't just about, PSVR, about Parole, or these different Discords. It's about gaming communities as a whole. And I think that's something that we can all work on together to improve things overall.
Yep. 100% agree, Myles. 100% agree. When these conversations come up, things like Chris Fortenberry, always, and this isn't an attack on you, Chris. These are the things that people bring up when we have these conversations. They say, I'm just tired of the releases now, of the release now, fix later mentality that the developers have, right? And I think that goes for a lot of people. And if you're tired of that, stop buying games at launch. The only thing that's ever going to change the way that anything works is when broken games stop being purchased. That's it. Nothing else is going to change it. Games are harder. Games are really hard to make. And I think anybody pre-ordering a game at this point, I mean, it even happened with Starfield. I mean, I say even, but it's a Bethesda game, so I think we probably should have expected it. Like launch day problems. So even AAA developers who are making these massive games are having their own set of problems. Everybody's going to have problems, and it's just it's the way things work right now. And I'm not saying that we can change it overnight or that things will ever change, but at least speak with your wallet and buy the game when you're ready to play it, when you've heard that it's been fixed. This isn't the 1990s anymore. You don't have to wait every month for a magazine to come out. There are literally thousands of YouTube channels that cover VR. Literally thousands that will keep you up to date with every single patch and let you know when the things that you don't like that were broken at launch are fixed. I don't want to blame the victim because the consumers are the victim, but there are also ways not to be the victim, and they're extremely easy. And that's by not giving your money to the developers until you find out that the game you want is the game that is ready for you. Just be patient.
I'm very fortunate that often games tend to come out at midnight or maybe during the workday if it's during the day.
Yeah.
And so in those circumstances, I at least have a few hours cooling off periods when you get back from work or wake up the next day, just see what the initial thoughts are. Right. And it's easier said than done. And this is, by the way, this isn't victim blaming of people that have bought the game, and we're not saying, well, shame on you, you shouldn't have bought it at launch, but this is an educational moment and it's something we should be more vigilant about. I do wonder, obviously, Sony PlayStation and First Contact Entertainment were very kind enough to give me a copy of the game at launch. I genuinely don't know what I would have done if that hadn't have been the case, and if I wasn't a streamer, I would have, of course, bought it anyway at launch. But I wonder if I probably still would have pre-ordered it because of how much I enjoyed. But having gone through this again, I'm definitely thinking straight away, this is exactly what happened last time. But then on the flip side, because it happened last time, I thought surely it's not going to happen again. That's why they've been delaying it.
Right.
It's not black and white. It's very complicated. But
yeah.
We're very lucky that we have channels like Without Parole that can check stuff out for you before, stress test stuff.
Studios aren't dumb. Studios aren't dumb. They definitely give out keys to all sorts of people, and so I know that whenever a game that I was looking forward to comes out and it's less than I wanted it to be, I'm looking forward to those patches, and I can't wait to check them out when they drop and report on that. So yeah, there's no shortage of coverage on this stuff. All right, man. I think we've harped on about this as long as we need to. We were gonna spend the last chunk of the show.
I just want to say one last thing because this is kind of a positive edge for it, which is, and we've mentioned it already, but I just want to sort of tail this conversation with it, which is, if Firewall Ultra was a terrible game, we wouldn't be really having this conversation because it'd be like, yeah, it's buggy, it's rubbish, move on.
Right. We talked about break stuff for about an hour, and then we never talked about it again.
Right.
Right.
But the reason we're talking about it so much is there is a great game here, and that's just what makes it heartbreaking. So, if there are devs watching this conversation with their head in their hands thinking, yeah, God, we got a beating, what you've created there is excellence there. It's incredible, how the game looks, how the guns feel. When you get into the games and that, it's great. We're just rooting for you to get this fixed so we can get into it. But the reality is, and as has been mentioned in the chat a lot by Trent Pixel, this isn't about decisions by devs. Devs are working on timelines set by other people. It's a massive chain of command. And so the pressure, hopefully by voicing it, isn't aimed at the devs who unfortunately get squashed in the middle. Hopefully it will make cases for those higher up. I mean, just Cyberpunk is a classic example. It all just came out. All the devs just like, we knew leading up to launch this was a car crash waiting to happen. And all the people on the board and that were just like, oh, we set timelines. Well, fuck you guys. But yeah.
All right, Myles, we have a significant number of tips to get through. And then maybe a viewer takeover question or two. Remember when we were like, let's make this a super short episode?
But the more shorter we try and make it, the longer it goes. So yeah.
Indeed. Oh man, Awando Kirnando Cat in the chat with another 20 memberships given out. Unbelievable, man. Thank you so much for your generosity. I thought I was going to turn people off with my rants tonight. Instead, so looks like I turned Awando on.
Wow.
Thank you so much, man. We got KillASL777 forever with a 3 level 1 membership. Says, dropped a like. Much love, Brian. Thank you, everybody, for clicking like and supporting the channel in whatever way you decide. Mark Booth, who's been definitely active in the chat tonight with a 50 quid tip, says, been watching since VR release and time to give something back and say thank you. Please keep us going with VR reviews and content. Thank you from Cheshire. Did he
Cheshire.
think... He phonetically spelled it out though.
Let me have a look.
Look, it's like a hyphen.
Oh, Cheshire. Yeah.
I think he wanted me to say it like that. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Blazing Phoenix 82 with a $10 tip says, OMG, I can't believe No Man's Sky isn't there, talking about the sales chart. This is how long ago this tip came.
Interesting.
Such a great game and so much better now for PSVR2, like an entirely new game now. I 100% agree that it is an entirely new game. However, I think it's a hybrid game. It's a flat screen game as well, and so those don't even chart on the PSVR2 sales charts. Village, I believe, was the same way, right?
Yeah.
And so is this.
Gran Turismo. Yeah.
Right. So,
it is so frustrating, isn't it? But like, how are they going to split it, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Where would I leave off here? Oh, Alejandro D, Cat Allergic Game Cat. Nash. Alejandro. Nash. With the $5 tip says, off topic as always, Roblox is coming to PS5 and there's a MetaQuest version. You guys think it'll come to PSVR 2? I put the link on Discord. Did you not just tweet about this, Myles? About Roblox coming to PS5 and hopefully PSVR 2?
Yeah, the Game Awards tweeted about it, and my thought was, could this mean something for PSVR 2? Because hasn't it just come out on VR?
He said it just came to Quest. Yeah. I don't know jack shit about Roblox, but I know it's insanely popular. That's all I really know about it. It's kind of like is it like an evolution of Minecraft, basically, like that same kind?
Yeah, it's like a Rec Room style game, but it's more about like you just go to customer. I've actually used it once, and it was when an EDM artist was doing like a listening party, and so I. They still don't know it was me in there. It was funny, and they had a little DJ booth. It was for Monster Cat and stuff like that, and it was cute.
Nice. I mean, obviously, anything this popular can help move the needle for VR. I'm sure it'll sell like crazy over on Oculus headsets. So, is there a chance? Of course, there's a chance. I hope it happens for everyone who's interested in it, and I want to check it out. There's no way I'm checking out Roblox without it being in VR. Kill Artist 1, the Dreamweaver Gamecat with the $5 tip says, I think my Firewall issues were just my bad luck. The Firewall issues we definitely had when I played with Kill Artist. It was right after Wednesday's show. And Kill Artist was there, so I can't prove or disprove this theory. Kill Artist might just be bad luck. Snafu with the $2 tip says, don't discount how many crazies have the internet. I cannot discount that, man. That is the reason I don't use Facebook anymore. It is the reason I have so many people blocked on Twitter. I'm trying to create my own little bubble to live in, and I really can't be bothered with the insane people out there. So I do not discount that at all. And I think that takes care of all the tips. We did have a couple of viewer takeover questions that we were interested in discussing them, Myles. And if you guys don't know how to leave viewer takeover questions, it's basically like leaving a tip here, except just leaving it free of charge over on our Discord. So click the link in the description below, join our Discord, and feel free to use the Viewer Takeover channel there. I always check it out before each and every show, see if there's any questions worth talking about, and then it generally ends up occupying half of the show. So there's that. The first one comes to us from Frost the Behemoth Cat. It says, hashtag Viewer Takeover. With PSVR 1, most of the best games came out in the first year or so, and then a lot of the releases after that seem to slowly degrade in quality. Do you think PSVR 2 will have a similar issue, or do you think the games will progressively get better instead? I've got a thought on this, Myles, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
I mean, I think they are going to get better, just because there's more competition in the VR space now. I feel like VR platforms are less segmented. There's a lot more crossover and competition, whereas before it was kind of like, well, PSVR games are PSVR games, Quest games are Quest games. There is still a bit of separation with functionality, but there is also a lot more direct competition. But at the flip side, I think we might be at a point right now where already, with less than 200 days since launch, I think the library of VR games is better now than it was on PSVR in its entire 7 years or whatever it was.
Yeah. I don't actually agree with Frost the Behemoth Cat's initial statement. We certainly had a good launch, but the launch that we had on PSVR 1 was a bunch of indie titles you'd never heard of before, like things like Headmaster and Wayward Sky were great games and really fun, but they were certainly bite-sized games and they were smaller. You know, and then we didn't get our first AAA game, which was Resident Evil 7, obviously, for like 4 months or so. We got so much more right off the bat with PSVR 2, and with PSVR 1, I actually think we certainly didn't have like AAA title after AAA title, but we did have sporadic AAA titles, right? Eventually, we got the Hitman trilogy, right? And that was way late in the PlayStation VR 1 lifespan. And then we got Zenith and Wanderer, and those were super even later in the lifespan. Squadrons was there in the middle somewhere. So I think we started off okay, and we continued to be okay for the entire lifespan. But I think the problem was with PSVR 1 was that we sort of started off behind tech-wise compared to PC VR. And then Quest came out, and that was the new hotness, and everybody ran over there, including developers. So I think PSVR 2 starts off, and it's already exceeding certain PC VR standards. It's certainly exceeding Quest 2 and what will be Quest 3 standards. So we're sort of future-proofed for the time being. And I think developers, anybody making a Steam VR game or a Quest 2 or 3 game, will be looking at PlayStation VR 2. So I think it's not going to go that way at all. And the more people are getting into VR than ever, more developers are getting into VR than ever. And I think we're on an upward trajectory, and I think we're going to stay that way. It might be a minor incline, but I still think we're doing well, and I think we'll continue to do well for the entire duration, at least for the next 3 or 4 years minimum. Social Destruct with a $10 tip says, the rant you just gave is the exact reason why this panel has the community it does. Spot on. Hit the like button and support everyone on this panel. Thanks, man. Thanks. Sometimes I really do feel like I'm up on my high horse sometimes and being like, Bryan, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, that's what I hear that's what I hear.
No,
but that's
I
not,
also think,
yeah.
but also I think, Bryan, sometimes the things we feel everyone knows it. Sometimes just expressing it out loud can be a good reminder for us all. Sometimes you need to repeat things out loud so that we all realise we're on the same page. That's something I've definitely learned a lot in the last year. So it's been very well said.
In the chat, Overcooked Corner says, did you try the 1.06 patch? That's the patch we're talking about for Firewall, by the way. It is the most recent one, and it still has major problems, unfortunately. The Bad Bantha in the chat says, Bryan, can you give me tips on how to deal with loneliness? Get a cat. I don't see people for months on end. Like sometimes, my co-hosts are the only people I really see. I don't leave my apartment much. I feel the agoraphobia setting in 2 years ago, and Tornado's been an amazing companion. So a cat is a great companion. Do you have any tips on loneliness, Myles?
I mean, I'm someone who lives in quite a lot of solitude myself, anyway. But I do think technology can help a lot. I don't think it's a complete replacement. I've been told that I should get a pet many, many times. But it's whether seeing family, even when going, like, this might sound like a really minute point, but I think it's really important. If you go shopping, have a conversation with the cashier, because that's not just for your benefit. Cashier is working with so many people, putting stuff through the till. Having a conversation like in those moments can be really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And I think that we live such busy lives where it's all about, I'm going to the shops, fill up my basket, pay for it, and leave. It used to be that you went down to your local shop, you'd have a conversation and stuff, and everyone would know everyone. We live in a world now where everything is so fleeting. And so it's about, the way you combat loneliness isn't necessarily about having someone that you're always with, that one person.
Yeah.
It's about always just taking the opportunity of making connections. When I'm walking out and about, I'll say good morning to people that I walk past and things like that. And those little things can make a real difference, because it's also like the karma thing. The more you do it, and sometimes it can be difficult to do, that might make them think, oh, that was kind of nice. Yeah, maybe I should do it. And it becomes this sort of reinforcing positive impact. So yeah, that's what I would suggest. But then with technology, joining the Discord, I've had a few moments in the last month where I've not been able to sleep and I've had major health anxiety. Mm-hmm. I've gone on the voice chat and spoken with Gamecats, because I always know there's going to be Americans on when it's like 4 a.m. my time. And, sometimes I don't have to talk about what I'm going through, but sometimes I do. Or usually when they say, what are you doing up at this time, Myles? I'm like, just having really anxious thoughts. And we don't have to talk about those anxious thoughts, but just having a conversation, I feel good. So even if it's not about loneliness, like online community, because of the greatness of voice chat and things like that, can be really, really powerful. And there's a great community on the Discord. Find someone to play a round of golf with and things like that. Like, all these things can help.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like such self-promotion, right? Like to say, hey, come join our Discord. But it's true. Like, not only are you going to find like an amazing group of people who all, generally feel the same way about empathy and PlayStation VR2, more importantly, there's nonstop discussions going on there. We've got a public voice chat. So if you just feel lonely, just want to like talk to somebody, jump into the public voice chat. It's very likely that somebody will join you. And if I'm around, it might be me, because I'm probably also feeling somewhat lonely. So yeah, it's just like you guys have helped me out so much during, like, not just the pandemic, like just in general, like in life. You guys, there's so many people in our community that, like, come by and say thank you so much for what you do on the channel, and I'm like, you don't even fucking understand like what you guys do for me on a regular basis. So thank you for that. Getting my belly, Gamecat Wilkins with the $50. Thank you. Everybody's so generous today. We love you all so much. I hope no one ever feels like they're being taken for granted. I'd love to spend like an hour talking to each person about, for each tip and whatever. But it's impossible, obviously. He says more coffee and pizza. So thank you very much. Coffee and pizza, you can never go wrong with. So Snafu says voice chat is public. There's two. There's a Patreon voice chat where sometimes, anybody's allowed to use public voice chat, right? So like sometimes you just want to like, make sure that the people while I'm working, sometimes I want to make sure the people I'm interacting with aren't like just going to be trolls and people that are just there to like bug me while I'm working. But I would say 98 times out of 100, I jump into public voice chat and just hang out with whoever wants to show up. And it's awesome. It's awesome. I love hearing new voices and now putting voices to people's names that I've known for years. It's amazing. So yeah, there's a couple different voice chats over on Discord, and want to make sure that you guys have access to whatever you want over there. So that's it.
Man, all the love in the chat has been it's been quite overwhelming, actually. It's incredibly kind. So thank you, everyone. It means a lot.
We should have known this wasn't going to be an hour-long episode, Myles. Et.2k9.now with the $20 tip says more Friday love. Thank you, et.2k9.now. Appreciate it. Got another viewer takeover question. Ripper1892 says, I'm interested in the opinion. Would anyone be willing to sacrifice playing with Sense controllers and instead use a DualSense controller, right, in order to play more AAA games like Far Cry 4, 5, and 6 or Red Dead Redemption 2? Obviously, there's a lot of things going on over on the PC side of things, right, where you get all sorts of different modders who are converting these flat screen games into VR. Would you be interested, Myles, if developers were given the option to just bring their game into VR, and you just use a DualSense instead? Would you be willing to take that option? Or do you want all of your PSVR2 games to definitely give you two hands in the game?
Yeah, I want two hands in the game. I just think I'd end up frustrated going, well, you've done this, so why can't you just do that? And I know it's not just do that. I don't know though, because I've also said I'd love to play some of my flat screen games where I'm able just to like look behind my character, you know. So the reality is, yeah, if I was able to play like God of War Ragnarok with the headset on, yeah, I'd love to experience that high frame rate. Being able to look all around, it'd be pretty awesome to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think so many people just want to play games in VR, and maybe just having the option to use the DualSense. I don't know. You know what? I'm curious. I'm gonna start a poll because. Yeah, I am, and here's why. Right, because I was having a conversation with somebody before the show in the comments section of the channel, and I said, "Listen, you might," and they were talking about like, "Oh, Village was frustrating for them because there was no D-pad, and they just wanted to play the game with a normal DualSense controller, and having to use the coat inventory and all that stuff was frustrating for them because it wasn't working properly." And they said, "Just give me the option to play with the DualSense in VR, and I'll be happy." And I was like, I told him, I said, you're obviously in the minority here, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't have the option to play the way you want. And his response was, I don't think I'm in the minority. I just don't think that you're aware of how many people have this opinion. And so that's what this poll is going to be about. Let me try to figure this out here. What's a good wording for this poll, Myles?
What do you think? Question mark.
That doesn't really help. I know I just went like.
Did it not help?
Not really.
Did it not help?
No.
Would
you take
if games were playable in VR, but with?
Hold on. If given the option, would you rather use the DualSense in VR rather than 2 Sense controllers? That's about as simple.
But no, I don't. Everyone's going to go with rather 2 Sense controllers. The question is, if it meant having access to more games, would you make do?
Well, this is in direct response to the person I was talking to about Village. So Village being already a game. I know this is going off of our viewer takeover question and sort of taking it into a different direction, but I'm very curious.
We're going off piece,
because he was telling me that he's not as much of a minority in this way of thinking that I assumed he was. And so I'm very, very curious. Let's give this guy an answer, okay? Because I'm willing to be wrong and find out exactly what everybody thinks. So if given the option, would you rather use DualSense in VR rather than 2 Sense controllers? And this basically means like this kind of does away with the VRAF elements, but also makes things more precise. There's a lot of people out there who don't like motion controls and just want to play a game in VR. I was one of those people when Resident Evil 7 came out, and I was like, I just want to sit on my couch and play this game in VR. I don't need to be standing in the middle of my living room and waving my arms around. And I've changed in the last 7 years, but I'm wondering if there's just some people who haven't changed, and that's their mentality, and that's what they've stuck with. So I'm very curious to know, because I'm always about giving everybody a voice here, and even though this seems like a common sense answer, I'd like to know. Here, I think I can unpin this other comment. Haha, there we go.
Yeah, you can unpin that one.
Yeah. All right. Mark Bruth with the 5 quid says it's 1 a.m. UK. Keep donating and keep Myles awake.
Well, I still have 2 things I want to talk about, so we are going to be up for a little bit more.
Niles Ryan, the Game Feline with the $5 tips to start a love train. Love train, heart. Thank you, Niles Ryan. I'm curious to meet Niles Ryan IRL because if you guys were here for Wednesday's show, I had a dream about Niles Ryan, and now I think I know what Niles Ryan looks like. And it can't be accurate because it was a dream. What if it was accurate, Miles? Could I officially start like being a fortune teller instead of a YouTuber?
There you go. Get a crystal ball.
Yeah.
Brian Poole and the crystal ball. There we
Oh,
go.
Jesus. Is that the next Harry Potter book? Brian Paul and the Crystal Ball. Terrible.
There we go.
What else did you want to talk about, Miles?
Well, one of the things I didn't actually flag with you before the show, but it was something I had a screen grabbed on my phone. So last night, I watched the wonderful Ash Millman from PlayStation Access. She was actually hosting the Horror Game Awards 2023.
Oh, I tried to watch it today and I fell asleep.
Oh, did you?
It wasn't great.
It was. Well, I know they had a really, really long stream that IGN were doing, and then there was the one of just the awards over an hour.
Okay.
And yeah, and so that, and that was the one that she was hosting, and she's just an incredible host. And she's a massive fan of horror, so win-win. It was really, really good, and one of the categories was best VR/AR horror game of the year.
Oh.
So I'm going to read what all the nominations were, and then you can have a guess which one won it. So there were 5. Afterlife VR.
Okay.
It's good to see that on there.
Mm-hmm.
Propagation, Paradise Hotel.
Sure.
Resident Evil Village VR.
Mm-hmm. Heard of that
The
one.
Dark Pictures, Switchback VR.
Yeah.
And The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, Chapter 2, Retribution. So good list. Who do you think won?
Am I voting now? Are you trying to get my?
Yeah. Who won?
Sorry, I keep playing with my hair. Like everything feels disgusting. Like just looks disgusting, feels disgusting. I hope it's not too distracting for the audio listeners. You can hear rustling. I mean, obviously, I would give it to Village. The fact that we're having this conversation means Village probably didn't get it.
No, Village did get it.
Oh, good. That makes sense because it's by far the best game on that list.
We don't have to burn the place down, no. But no, it was cool, and it was an interesting celebration of like horror gaming as a whole. There's a game that Ash absolutely adores that I am gonna get round to playing. It's a flat screen game called Dredge. Do you know about it?
I think so. I'm gonna look it up real quick though because talk to me about it. What is it?
She just mentions it's one of her favorite games of the year. I think it's where you're sent out on a ship and you've got to dredge up, if that's how you can describe it. You got to find items. Oh wow, did my camera die?
Let me check. I am somewhere else. Oh yeah, it did. Oh,
it's now switched to my iPhone camera.
That's very nice. Cool. I can switch mine as well to my other camera, and
what's happened there?
And then neither one of us will be on screen. How's that work? Yeah.
What's happened? Has it overheated? What's happened? I think my camera's overheated. That's what's happened.
For all the audio listeners, Miles' camera's off, and
I'll just have to use mine.
Out. Did it run out of batteries? What happened?
I don't know. Let me see if I can switch it back.
I mean, you look good. This is a good alternative.
This is my phone camera.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, let's have a look here. Wow. Yeah, it's detecting it now. Okay. Here we go.
I mean, I can switch to my other camera if you want. Just
ta-da!
Does that make you feel better? No? Okay.
I'm back.
Cool.
That was weird.
Hey, it wouldn't be for GameScast if something fucked up didn't happen.
Yeah, had to happen sooner or later. I knew it was going to happen by hour 4.
By hour 4. What was there more to this horror awards thing?
No, that was it. I just wanted to bring it up. We were talking about Dredge. I know it's a game I want to check out, but no, it was just great to see VR as a section on there. Yeah. And then when you see the list of games, it's a great list in just one genre of horror. And we are 1 month away of getting a shit ton more.
Yeah, we're going to be able to fill up the 2024 category literally over the course of 3 weeks.
Horror.
Yeah. All right. Okay, well, first and foremost, I need to get rid of this poll. I will say a surprising. So we got 110 votes. 21% of you, meaning at least 21, maybe 22, said yes, you would rather use the DualSense in VR rather than 2Sense controllers. So it's a minority, Myles, but it's certainly not the 2% I would have expected to get.
Right.
A lot of people just want to sit there and play a game in VR, and that is a large percentage. I would say a large enough percentage where developers should take heed and give people the option if possible. So thank you everybody for participating in the poll and including me in. We had a couple more tips, and then we'll do one more viewer takeover question, and then some 20 questions, and then this will be a 3-hour show. Ash VR, the groovy game cat, says, so appreciate the $2 tips. I so appreciate this channel and the community. We appreciate you as well, Ash. And then Mark Bruth, 1 a.m. in the UK, with the 5 quid says, iPhone autocorrect misspelled your name. That has demanded an extra donation. Apologies. I didn't even notice that you misspelled it. So I will refund your $5 if you're if you'd like it back. But thank you very much. You guys are generous and can't do this without you. Okay. So then we're going to finish off with Garfield the Lasagna Lover, which, how can you not love that name? I was dying for lasagna yesterday. I don't know what happened. That didn't happen. What do you think the chances are that Sony are biding their time with first-party VR games until the majority of ports are completed to give the platform a solid base and ensure there's a continuous flow of content throughout the PSVR2 lifecycle?
I mean, my answer is I think it's what's happened with PS5 as well. We are in a much longer life cycle of hardware because of the supply issues, the pandemic. PSVR2 came out not long after the PS5 came out. And the bottleneck was people are going to buy PSVR2 once they've got a PS5. And people are going to buy PSVR2 games once they've got those previous two things. And so for me, that is the main reason that things are being drawn out, is when they release games, because they're expensive to make, they want to make sure they have the biggest uptake. And sometimes, you know, they'll have to make the gamble and say, we actually think this will be a system seller. So we'll get it out now. But a big part of it, I think, is, you know, if they can give it another 6 months, they will. And that's not just what we're seeing with PSVR2 games. We're seeing it with flat screen games as well. There's a lot of games we know that are being worked on that we're not seeing anything of at the moment. So I'm sorry, it's not a direct answer to your question, other than I think that's what's actually going on. I don't agree with what is being asked there.
Yeah, I don't I don't know. Like, there's obviously a couple different sides to this. What would be the benefit, right, of spending millions of dollars developing a game and then just sitting on it for 6 months, a year? And that sounds crazy to me. Until you sorry, I just had to play some other trailer to get that out of there. So here's Drums Rock, everybody. It sounds crazy to me. Say, oh, we're going to sit on this game for 6 months to a year and just release it because whatever, we want there to be a steady stream of stuff. Until you listen to the conspiracy theorists or the people that are negative on PSVR2 saying, yeah, it's the next Vita. It's the next Vita. Sony's dropped support for it already. So if you say, hey, every year Sony gives us 2 big exclusive games, whether they be hybrids or whether they be, you know, first party VR only, if they do space it out like that, then it's impossible for anyone to say, oh, it's the next Vita, because here's consistent content from first party studios throughout the course of its lifespan. So yeah, I mean, it could absolutely be the case. But I also don't think that it means they're sitting on these things. I think it just means, hey, London studio, you go work on this, you know, updating Blood and Truth this year, and then next year we'll get Team Asobi to update AstroBot, and the following year we'll get Clap Hands to update Everybody's Golf, and the following year we'll get, you know, like it could be that kind of thing. So you know, there's a million different ways to look at this, and I just think that it's easy to come up with all of these different viewpoints to what Sony must be doing when we have no idea what Sony's doing and why, which is it's just a strange position to be in, because once upon a time, Sony had announcement after announcement after announcement at every single gaming convention. When E3 was the biggest thing, they were there every single year, and they killed it every single year. Every E3 was Sony's to win, and they did almost every single year. It's a much different Sony now, and we don't know if that's because of Jim Ryan. We don't know if that's because of the pandemic. We don't know if studios have things ready, if they're or if they don't, or how any of this is panning out. And I don't think we're going to really know what the Jim Ryan COVID Sony looks like for another year or two, when things finally kind of get back on track. Games take fucking forever to make these days. It's not like the old days when games had a year or two development cycle. Now it's bigger than ever. So I think it's going to take a little while for us to figure out what this generation of Sony really looks like. So I don't know. I wish that means I don't have an answer. That's the answer to the question. I don't have an answer. We got a tip here, Myles, from Paul Friedman, Canadian 279, says, love your show. You're really good folks. Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it. Everyone's been so nice.
Yeah. It's really heartwarming. I'm sitting up here like I felt like there's no way I'm doing a show today. And I was like, oh, we canceled last Friday. I can't cancel again. And I just wanted to lay in bed. My head was throbbing. My throat's sore, and I've got a fever. And everybody here is just like, we're so glad you made it. It's like, I feel like everybody just gave me a big hug, and now you've all got whatever I have. So congratulations. Thanks for the hug.
I'm definitely feeling the best I felt in a long time in the show, when I definitely wasn't feeling that before getting into this.
All right, Myles. Well, you're not too far off from bedtime. So let's play some 20 questions and get you there.
Can I talk about one last thing?
Of course you can. What do you got?
Not that I want to pad this out anymore. I just want to make a quick shout out. So in the hour leading up to coming live on the show, I received an email from WASD. It is the #1 video games event brand in the UK, where they have hundreds of playable games from all over the globe. Content creators go, and all people from the industry as well. They had one in April, which is why I was very surprised when I heard there was one happening next week, and I kind of panicked. And it's because the one that's happening next week is in partnership with IGN. So they're basically teaming up to put on this blockbuster powerhouse of an event, and they were kind enough to give me a creator pass. So I want to say a huge thanks to the people at WASD. I'm going to be there waving the flag for PSVR without parole. So if there are any Gamecats, any viewers out there listening or watching this, any devs, anyone who's going to be there, look out for me. Let me know on Twitter beforehand, or X as we call it. It'd be great to see you there. So yeah, it's happening on Thursday the 14th of September until Saturday the 16th at the Truman Brewery in East London. And it's going to have a lot of things like pre-release games. It's going to have a careers area where you can find out more about the gaming industry. They have an indie game showcase, live stage, all sorts. And PlayStation's going to be there. And I also know that the director and writer of Sea Smash and The Last Worker is going to be there.
Jorg.
I think showing some of the the new upcoming Sea Smash DLC.
Nice.
And they're even having a DJ night on one of the nights at a local bar with the artist that wrote the music for Sea Smash. So I feel like I need to dress up in... Do you have them in America? The morph suits, which are like the one-piece suits where you're like one colour. You look like a guy that would be on green screen. They're called morph suits in the UK.
Yeah, I guess
I've
seen them, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to wear a white one and come with a little racket like I'm in Sea Smash. That'd be too much effort. It'd be too hot for that.
Yeah.
But anyway, wasdlive.com is the site. I'm going to be there. Hopefully see some people there. Should be a good time.
Yeah, do you know, I mean, since this is new to me, I hadn't heard of WASD before. Is this more of a fan thing? Is this like PAX East PAX East, PAX West, all PAX conventions tend to be more for the fans and less about the developers and and less about press and showing off new games, that kind of thing. No big reveals ever happen. PAX tends to be more like, hey, come and play our games. It's for fans to come and check out shit and play it firsthand. Is that what this is too, or is this more? Will this have reveals and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'm not sure about reveals. I mean, to be fair, I'm still in like the early stages of going to these events. I've been to EGX once, but with this, my understanding is it's a bit of a mix. I mean, there's a lot of early hands-on games, so it is for gamers to turn up, but they do have a business lounge. They do have press. I know some of my friends from the industry are going to be there. I won't say who they are because I don't think they've announced it yet, but there's going to be a lot of people there from across the board. I'm curious to know what VR devs are going to be there. What I do get a sense of from speaking to some is because this is an extra was the event. My understanding is that normally they do just one a year, but because of this IGN partnership, they're doing this extra one. People just come from Gamescom and all these other ones at this time of year. It's a busy time of year. A lot of them are exhausted and like, oh, we can't go back to London for this one. But I don't know. I definitely want to make an effort of going to these events when I can. I'm going to try and go to EGX, which is in October, just kind of as a without parole European correspondent, because I wanted to go to Gamescom. It was just a bit too late for preparing for it.
Somebody's going to leave the house for us. It's not going to be me.
I do want to get a without parole jacket or hoodie of some kind though to wear at these things. But I know that Shuei Yoshida was at WASD in April, so hopefully he's at this one. Because if I get to meet him, that'd be amazing.
We should get him a without parole jacket too.
There we go.
All right, man. Let's play some 20 questions and call it a day. You ready? You are the host this time around. Everybody help me out because this game's way harder than it seems. We've got 6 minutes and 20 yes or no questions to figure out what PSVR 1 or PSVR 2 game Myles is thinking about. I'm going to bring up a little notepad file here. And this is good. You got a game picked up, Myles?
Almost. Just give me 2 more seconds.
Perfect.
1.
A lot of love for C Smash in the chat. It's on sale. And I think C Smash is a lot of fun. I just thought it was really light on content for what it was when it released. It also got more content since then, and it didn't actually have all the modes that it promised at launch, which really bugged me. I think when you say, "Hey, co-op mode," and then you never tell people that co-op mode was delayed, it's like, well, okay, I'm definitely going to disappoint people when they pick it up.
Yeah.
So.
Right. I jumped back into it the other day, and when it starts up with the music and the sound, I just can't stop smiling. It feels great. It's great. I'm looking forward to the co-op mode. It should be good. Right. I got a game, Brian. I got a game, and it's not C Smash.
Oh, good. One off the list. You just made it easy for us.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. 6 minutes. Putting it up on the clock right now. On your mark. That's not it. Get Des. Go. Is this game... Shit, what's a good question? Is this game on PSVR 1?
No.
Okay, well, I guess that answers that question. PSVR 2 game, guys. Is this by any chance also playable on the flat screen?
No.
Okay. All right. Oh, good question, Looper. Was it a launch title?
Oh,
you're AJing the fuck out of this already.
I'm going to say it was. Yeah, I'm going to say it was.
It was a launch title.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this does this have any rhythm element in it?
No.
That's Ian Stanbridge. Oh no, well, that takes away all my guesses. All right.
And it definitely was a launch title.
Okay. Single player?
Yeah. 5.
Okay. Is this based on any kind of existing IP or franchise?
No.
Okay. Markio is wondering, did it come up on the show today?
No.
Never mentioned it. Okay.
I thought I'd mix up.
McManus 007 asked if it's in our top 25.
No.
Uh-oh.
Can you imagine that was the question? Was it the last game you mentioned on the show? Yeah. All right.
All right.
You're on 8.
A launch title. Did we have any horror launch titles other than Village? I don't think we did. And that was playable on the flat screen, so that rules that out. Looper's wondering if it's cartoony.
Yeah.
It is cartoony. It's a PSVR2 cartoony launch title. Do I hate this game?
Hate's a strong word, Brian.
Do I hate this game?
I don't think so. I think you have spoken.
All right, it's not What the Bet, you guys.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a puzzle game?
No.
Okay, not Tentacular. Music Impact asks, is it a shooter?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about a cartoony launch title for PSVR 2, a single-player shooter. Is it a roguelite?
No.
Okay, not like Brigade. Sorry, 40. Is it by any chance free to play?
Yeah.
Do you play as a cactus in this game?
I think you could say that. I think, yeah. That's open to interpretation, but I'd say that.
Open to interpretation? All right, I may interpret this as, is it
cactus?
Is it Cactus Cowboy Plants at War?
It is, Brian. Cactus Cowboy Plants at War, and Destiny 11 was the first to get it in the chat. Well done to you. Well done.
Yeah, thanks for helping me out, you guys. I don't think I would have gotten this on my own. Still haven't played it, Myles. Still haven't played it. Nope, because, dude, and it can't be the only one I haven't played since.
Sure.
You know, I've certainly missed my fair share of PSVR 2 games so far. Still trying to play catch up. It's
a good time, man.
It's a good time.
I'm definitely going to go. I did a Let's Play a few weeks ago with it, and I did find the opening, the beach mission really difficult, and the dev did recommend that I turn the difficulty down just for that bit, but for the live stream. A lot of people said that first bit is really, really difficult to get through. But once you get through that to the main campaign stuff, for a free game, it's like definitely play it. The guns feel great. It's fun. So like some of the stuff you're seeing on the trailer, like the open fields and stuff, I was quite impressed. But yeah, nice.
He's also working on his next game, which is going to be not free to play. It's a Cactus Cowboy. Is it Desert Warfare? I believe that's what it's called.
Possibly, yeah.
So yeah, definitely worth checking this out, especially if it's free to play. Figure out if this is for you or not. That's it.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, Myles, it's been a long night, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for a day that both of us were like, let's make it a short one, and let's get out of here. You guys out there made it the best part of my day for sure. So thank you very much, everybody, for showing up today. Thank you, everybody who supports the channel, whether that be Sci-Fi Gamecat Henry that puts timestamps into the sucker after the fact, Rypop, who uploads this on podcast services of your choice, all my moderators who make my life easier each and every day, not just over here on YouTube, but also on Discord, all the cats who support us financially over on patreon.com/withoutparolgames, and on YouTube by being a member or tipping during the show. We appreciate you literally keeping the lights on. You have no idea how much it means to me. Thank you to sorry, chat's funny as always.
It's not funny.
Yeah, and thank you to everybody who hangs out during the show, keeps us entertained while we try to keep you entertained, who helps out with 20 questions, and of course everybody who sits back and watches the show and doesn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there. We love you just as much. Happy Friday, Myles.
Happy Friday, Brian. Feel better soon. Happy Friday, Gamecats. Have a wonderful weekend. Join the Discord, and we'll see you there. Peace.
Oops, wrong button. You know, Myles, there's something we started doing, I think on Wednesday's show, where I've got all these hold screens, which you're looking at right now. You know, the sales charts are in. Firewall's number one. The thumbnail, right? The thumbnail. The hold screen, thumbnail, same thing.
Love it.
I've got them all saved on my computer. It's like the one thing that I haven't backed up and religiously deleted off my hard drive are these. And it's like 3 years of thumbnails for GamesCast.
Wow.
Live. And so every so
You're
often.
going to do an art exhibition?
You know? No. Now that you bring it up, absolutely not. And so every so often, I like to look at so they're all stored in my computer by date. And so when I look up, 9/8/23, it also brings up 9/8/21. So you want to see what happened on this day 2 years ago?
Let's do it.
All right. Sniper Elite VR patch. The headline. This is how bad things were for PSVR 1 2 years ago. The headline of the show is that there was a patch for Sniper Elite VR. It was hard times, Myles. It was hard times.
Wow.
In the without
must have been a big patch.
Yeah.
Must have been a big patch.
In the bonus headline was Fire Sprite bought by PlayStation. So literally, congratulations! 2 years ago today, or we talked about it 2 years ago today, that Fire Sprite became a first-party studio.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you know how many GamesCasts you've done then?
This must be 4,000. No, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I could look at the playlist on YouTube, and that would be the closest approximation I have.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But it's been a whole lot, Myles. It's been a whole lot.
Kevin says in the chat, post credits, what you playing tonight? Well, you're getting rest, aren't you, after this?
Well, I've downed so much coffee during the show that yes, I'm going to lay down, but I'm pretty sure that I'm going to lay down and play a PlayStation 1 game. I was watching on YouTube a retrospective, like a 4-hour retrospective on Vagrant Story, and it clued me into the fact that I've never gotten more than a couple hours into Vagrant Story, and what I've played of that game I absolutely love. The retrospective made me very concerned that it gets too deep for me because I'm not a tactics type guy, and even though it's not a tactics type game, the systems in this action RPG are so deep that it might as well be one. So I'm a little concerned that I might not make it through, but I may get into that tonight. What are you going to play?
I mean, I'm going to bed straight after this, but if I was going to play a game, genuinely, I would love to just jump into Firewall Ultra and play some, but I just know it's going to make me really sad.
Yeah.
But I do think about it a lot. I do think about jumping into that game a lot. Like, it feels so good when you get those matches going and you've got a team together. On the flip side, when you go into a Firewall game and you're with randoms and they're not talking and they're running off on their own and getting absolutely slaughtered.
That's me.
You're not going to have a good time.
That's me. Frosted Behemoth Cat with the $10 tip says Saturday pizza.
Whoop.
And that might be Friday pizza, in all fairness. But all right, thank you guys very much. We love you all. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you next week for literally 7 new PSVR 2 game releases. Good night, everyone.